got numbers.
Hey, welcome to ClevelandMoto Podcast number 481, not from Barber. Light them up, boys. Oh my God, I've got another POC. They call this a craft Pilsner. This is a fucking honey brown if I've ever had one. It's delicious.
Those aren't easy to come by these
Porterific. I don't care. It's delightful. It's you know what? It's dark and it's crisp. It's not just like sugar loaded. It's a nice porter beer. I really like it. What are you drinking, Sleepy?
This is a deep fake.
Deep fake.
Deep fake IPA. Non-alcoholic.
And to his left,
yeah, Pete Hemfling
what you
here.
drinking,
Speedy Pete drinking the Heineken
Another
00.
a Heineken free.
Yeah, right.
Because they're free.
It is kind of the house. It is Heineken free has become the house beer.
Yeah, because it's free.
Because it's free.
Because it keeps showing up
Well,
for free.
They literally give the shit away.
Give it away, right? And to his left,
If it's free, it's for me. I'll take 3.
The price
This
is
is the
right.
guy with the fake AARP card.
the counterfeit. Our counterfeit. All right.
And Jeff Spalding.
Hey, Jeff!
I found a ginger beer over
You
there. in the
did find
corner,
a ginger beer.
So I grabbed it. Yeah.
did?
Well done. He's drinking it out of a mule mug too. And
Yep.
behind the bar,
Tom Pennington.
Tom Pennington. You drinking tonight, Tom?
I'm on red wine, actually.
There you go. Red wine.
So who is this Jeff
for the
fellow
help.
that's sitting over
Yeah,
here?
who's the stranger?
Right. Who is the stranger?
Please tell us your story, sir.
Well, I met this guy over here a long time ago, and he talked me into doing a bike ride. And so that's what got me to Cleveland
This
on
time.
Thursday. Yeah.
Well, Jeff was here in August for our 40th high school reunion, and he did the rip around the lake with Smith and I.
Yeah.
Oh,
He was number 3 in that crowd.
Yeah. And then I can't say no to a bad idea. So we decided to do a little ride on our small bore bikes.
Small bore. Yep.
Yep.
And when did you guys get home?
Thursday, the 10th or 11th,
Yeah,
whatever day that
Thursday, kind of mid-evening when we rolled in.
was. Yeah.
And because we did a call-in with you guys last week.
Oh, that's
we
right.
can go today.
Yeah. That was from Raton, New Mexico. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Raton, Raton.
At that
New
point, you
Mexico.
guys weren't sick of Smith yet. Nobody had hurt themselves. Except for
We were still talking to each other at the time.
Right.
Okay, right.
Well, Chris, did he hurt himself the next day or
No, it
the
was
prior
he.
day? That
He hurt
day?
himself because I remember
He
looking.
took a dive in the dirt.
I remember looking
Right.
at the damage,
Right.
and going, yeah, we should probably have that looked at.
So he took a dive in the dirt before we talked to you guys a week ago. And
That's right.
so
Okay.
then did he take a dive again?
No. Well, he had a small tip over, but then he had a
Smith.
but then he had a meltdown.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Well, he's not here. So the rule is if you're not here, you're allowed to throw him under the bus.
Yeah.
If you decide to not, like, he made a conscious decision to not be here tonight.
Right.
Where he could have defended himself.
True.
So by default,
Fair game.
he is saying, please shred me.
Well, when we left Raton, New Mexico, there were 2 ways we could have went. One of them was a little bit longer to get to the next town, but it took in the panhandle of Oklahoma. It took in a little bit of Colorado, and then put us right into Kansas. So we're like, oh, let's touch a couple more states.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It just sounded like the right thing to do.
Well, unbeknownst to us, it was all gravel, and it was spectacular.
And this is after he fell.
Chris is not comfortable in the gravel. He
Doesn't like gravel.
It was like 40 miles of gravel, and at the end of the day, Chris said, I've now ridden like 41 miles of gravel in my life, because prior to that, he had like 1 mile of gravel experience, which I think was on the around the Lake Erie loop.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. So, yeah, Chris is not fond of gravel, and we got to a point where we all waited for Chris at an intersection because we didn't want to go through the intersection without him. The intersection of 2 gravel roads, mind you.
Oh, of course.
And
So you get to stop.
as Chris rolls up, he said, I'm done.
Well,
I'm fucking finished. I'm done. I'm putting my bike on the truck. I'm done.
but there's something that led up to that particular tantrum, which is every time he would get to us, we would roll. And he couldn't get to tell us that he was done.
Oh, so
And
literally.
so we kept like going forward.
leapfrogging.
We were leapfrogging him. Yeah, exactly. And so he had this little bit of angst built up.
And so he had a speech planned for what he was going to tell you guys when he finally got his kickstand down. And he never got to put his kickstand down because you kept rolling out.
And it was building.
And he kept getting more mad.
Yes.
And then where he finally caught up to us and we all collected ourselves.
Right.
He said he was done. He wanted to put his bike in the truck. And I said, Chris, you see that cell tower in the distance? Which was like 2 miles away. I could see it on the GPS.
I could hold my breath and ride to it. Yeah.
I said, that is the hardball road right there. And he's like, I don't fucking care. I'm done. I said, I respect that, Chris. If you want to put your bike in the truck, that's great. But if you can last 2 more miles, we'll be on the road again.
Yeah, and your attitude will change.
He said, fuck you. You've been telling me that for the last 20 miles that it's just a short section of dirt. And I was like, I can see it on the GPS. It's right there. And he was already mentally checked out.
But we gotta give the man credit.
Yes.
Because considering, like, so he went down day before.
Right.
And then, which hurt. Didn't say anything. Finished the ride.
Yeah.
Did not complain. Got to the hotel. Did not complain.
Yeah, when
and
we talked to you guys on the
riding.
podcast, he was very cool.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think he was doing a really good job of holding in there.
Covering it up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's a tough man.
Yeah.
To do what he did in that condition.
And Chris has got 10 years on us, too. Jeff and I are 58. Chris is 68. Mm-hmm. He was the oldest member of the group. And, he just...
that was his shift. It was his shift toe that was broke.
Right.
And he rode all those miles in the gravel.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the fact that he had a get off in the dirt and he's hurt, and anybody who ever runs dirt, anybody who knows anything will know that crash adrenaline lasts for 24 hours. So you get hurt, you got 24 hours to do whatever it is you're going to do.
Good point.
You make the next 24 hours very, very valuable. You get as much shit done as you can. And I've broken my arm, I've broken my hand, I've broken my foot, I've broken my leg, broken several ribs.
I've broken a lot of hearts.
I've broken a lot of hearts.
Okay, this is dead on because I think it was about 24 hours when he finally
And so
he punched out.
Your
That's
body
dead on.
gives you 24 hours from the time of an impact injury that you can still function. And you can take it like a man, right? Mm-hmm. And when I broke my hand, I couldn't get my glove off, right? So I was like, that's good. The glove is keeping the swelling down. And I had 4 broken bones in my hand, and I was still pulling the clutch for 1 day.
Yep.
And then, at the end of that day, covered another 300, 400 miles, I cut my glove off, and it turned into Mickey Mouse. Like, it just blew the hell up. And the next day, I couldn't do anything with it. It was done. Like, I was finished. When I broke my ankle, same thing. Soldier on. Made it through, limped like you limp, but I was like, oh, it's fine. It's probably a sprain. I'll just walk it off. And then the next day when I woke up and it's purple where the break was, and I couldn't put any weight on it at all. So there's that 24-hour magic window. And Merritt says, crash adrenaline lasts for 24 hours.
Dude,
you can do anything.
I never thought about that, but you're right. When I left the shop and I was helping you build bikes, and that pipe hit my foot.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So I was driving home and a semi hit a piece of exhaust pipe, flew in the air and went right into my foot. And it freaked me out. Like he said, I was going to stop, take my boot off. I'm like, that's a bad idea. But when I got home, it really didn't hurt, even though it looked kind of mangled. So then I found a CB350 I wanted. So the next morning I drove to Indiana to go buy a bike. And then as I was coming back at about 3:34 is when it was about 19 or 20 hours.
Yeah.
But since I wasn't doing it, I was just driving. It went from like, oh yeah, I'm going to have to deal with that toe to like, I have to deal with this right now.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
This hurts.
So I give Chris a lot of credit because that's tough. He soldiered on.
And I think he's a smart man because I remember talking to him that evening and I wanted to see it. And I'm like,
I wanted to see it.
well,
You're talking about his foot, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there ain't nothing else to see.
So I asked him, I'm like, have you looked at it yet? And he hadn't taken his hadn't taken his shoe off yet.
Right.
So he knew.
He knew. Yeah.
I think he suspected, right? Because once you take it off, then it's gonna start changing. Because you can see it, right? If it's broke, you'll see the blood underneath the skin, type stuff.
And have you got any medical background?
No.
Oh yeah.
Just damage. Personal damage, right? That I've experienced. So
does he have to tape it, or what did he do to get back in the boot?
No, it never really
didn't
swell up. Like Tim's would have never got his boot back on, but it was
bleeding.
That's a whole nother
Clearly
story.
something was broke.
Something's bad.
Yeah.
That's it. Oh, that's too bad, man. I feel bad for him. And I know how much he hates gravel.
Yeah.
So there you go.
And it was too bad because frankly, that day was one of my favorite days of riding.
Oh, really?
Because, well, the gravel was cool. There was no cars out there. And we were riding through some drop dead scenery. The temperatures were just right. That was the only section 2 where there was no gas station. So we had to stop and fill our bikes with the gas can that was in the truck.
Yeah,
the truck was still with it at that time, because the monkeys only have a 1 gallon tank, so you essentially have about a 100-mile range, and that was about like a 150-mile stretch.
Okay,
down through there.
Oh, that's cool.
Completely uncivilized. Like we went through a couple of. They were towns on the map, but it was nothing more than a couple houses. No gas stations, no general stores, no nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing.
Because that Raton, New Mexico, is dead south of Denver.
Okay.
I mean, it's perfectly 100% south of Denver proper. So like you said, you'd peeled over to the side to catch the panhandle, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was trying to figure out where the hell you were, because, 70 runs across there. So 70 just, between Colorado Springs and Denver is where you're going to find 70, right? Mm-hmm. And the fact that you guys didn't run that hardball, right? So that makes me.
I think, what is it, 160 that runs north of there, maybe?
Probably.
That was the shorter, all paved route, but we stayed on these like county roads that went through. Wow. Like going across cattle guards and going through open range.
And the route it's worth doing again.
It is.
I would go back and ride
that
again.
So GPS Kevin really did nail it.
Yeah. So is this a route that you can just buy, or did he make this for you guys?
You can just buy it from him. He actually established this route in 2019 or 2021, maybe.
21, I remember seeing on his
2021. Okay. And basically left from his front door in San Diego and goes to New York City. Mm-hmm. Now, the closest it came to Cleveland was Cincinnati. So our plan was to stay on his route till we got roughly to Cincinnati, and then just start heading north from there. Sure. As it turns out, we started heading north a little bit further west when we were in Indiana. Okay. So when we were in we overnighted in Vincennes, Indiana. Beautiful town, by the way.
That's cool.
I say that with great sarcasm.
Right, with great sarcasm. Right.
So we started heading northeast out of Vincennes, Indiana. Okay. And we ended up by Indianapolis, but just south of there, and then we ended up in near Dayton.
Did you get to spend time in Dodge City? Was that your overnight?
We did overnight at Dodge City. We didn't do much there. It's like a touristy.
It's a tourist
thing. They got a Boot Hill or whatever.
That's exactly right.
We didn't pay any attention to that stuff. We did have a wonderful dinner. We went to a steakhouse there that was in an old train station, and there was there was actual rail cars in. I mean, it wasn't like a restaurant that was made to look like a train station. It was an actual old train station with actual old train cars in it. And Dodge City is a rail city and a cattle city. There's huge stockyards there. So we're like, let's get a steak while we're here. And it was good. It was a good steak dinner.
That sounds fantastic. Yeah, I appreciate that.
And then they got the hell out of Dodge.
You know what I was thinking?
I said
that was said a few times.
Sure it was.
You know what I was
sure
thinking?
They have a T-shirt.
Remember the old Enduro Hair Scramble crossbar gas tank?
Yeah, for sure.
You can get one of those and put it on there. You can get another 50.
You have to put a crossbar on it first.
Oh, it doesn't.
Which could be done. I mean, but no, I know what you mean. That's a good idea. That would have been a good idea. I forgot about this. We had our 1 liter spun aluminum bottles.
That's like 40, 50 miles right there. Right?
Well, they're a liter, which will get you at least 30 miles. And if you nursed it, you could probably get 40 out of it.
Damn, that's all right.
We never really did come in danger of running out of gas, but there was the one stretch where we knew we were going to be without a gas station. And that was mostly west of the Mississippi, too. There was a couple stretches that were like 100 miles, but when you get east of the Mississippi, there's gas stations in every town.
Oh, everything. Yeah, constantly. But there's that no man's land in between where you get on those, not just secondary roads, but you guys are on like tertiary roads.
There's
there's nothing there. There's nothing going on back there for you guys.
The dark.
So
there you go.
It's
and you want to plan for sure.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, when you're running with a gas tank that small, we did it with a 1 gallon gas tank, and it's the same jam. It was like when we hit to reserve, if you couldn't see the gas station, you couldn't make it to the gas station.
I have a KTM. I'm very familiar with that one.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works too. So that's cool.
But let's start from the beginning. So we were going to leave on Friday the 27th. We picked up a 5x8 U-Haul on the 25th.
Okay.
Figure we got 2 days to get it loaded.
Yeah.
I drag it over to my brother's house. We got 5 bikes over there. And we go to put...
Well, that's quite something.
What are you doing?
My phone won't shut up. I was literally shutting the volume off so they didn't do anything.
Right.
We put like 2 bikes in this 5x8 U-Haul, and we're like, we need a bigger trailer. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
So I'm going right back. I had this trailer for like an hour. I'm like, I'm going to go back and get this
the 6x12.
6x12 dual axle, you know?
Yeah.
So
I'm working
he's
on it.
fixing
I'm
it.
trying to get this thing fixed.
Yeah.
I go back to the same place
holding it there.
that I rented the U-Haul from, and it was a Wednesday. Well, it was 12:30, and they closed at noon.
No
on
way.
Wednesday. So then I have to go to another U-Haul dealer.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I go to one of the big, like the one next to the shop
Yeah,
up
the
there,
big one, yeah,
a big
right.
like corporate store with a big orange U-Haul sign and everything. It wasn't like Joe Blow's car dealer and
Right.
U-Haul thing. So I get the 6x12, drag that back. We get all the bikes loaded on the trailer, and then that Friday morning we take off about 10 in the morning. Myself, the truck driver, a guy by the name of John, and my brother. We drove from Cleveland to Columbus to Indianapolis to St. Louis. Mm-hmm. We left Cleveland at 10 in the morning, so we got through Columbus at about noon. No rush hour whatsoever. We get through Indianapolis about 4, just beat the rush hour.
Good.
The whole trip from Cleveland to Blythe, California, 40 hours nonstop.
Oh, you're not screwing around.
No.
Oh, that's amazing.
We had three capable drivers, and it was like a cab and a half. So one guy would be sleeping in the back, the 2 guys in the front. We did stop at a Buc-ee's on the way out.
Right.
That was our only like stop for like real food. Everything else, we weren't drinking like anything in there, like because we didn't want to have to stop and pee
you don't
all
want
the
to go
time.
to the bathroom all the time. Yeah.
So minimal food intake, minimal liquid intake. One stop at Buc-ee's to get like a sandwich. And I think that was like in Missouri, maybe somewhere or something. But we drove all night. So we got through Tulsa, Oklahoma City.
I mean, that's incredible.
In one stretch.
That's a hell of a run.
And not a single traffic jam. There was one time where the traffic zippered down from 2 lanes to 1 lane because they were working on a bridge or something. That might have slowed us down for about 15 minutes, but never came to a complete stop.
Yeah.
But by the time we got to Blythe, California the next day, we were all like punch drunk.
You're done.
And we were like ready to like fight each other, and like the one guy was choosing the music, which was not good. It was like jam band stuff that it just after
Never
a while
let Sleepy pick your music.
anyhow, so we didn't want to roll into Kevin's place in San Diego like that. So yeah, we're right on the river there, right on the border between Arizona and California.
Yeah.
We got a hotel there. We got a Best Western. And then the next morning, we got up and rode over to Kevin's place. And if you see that, we didn't take the interstate. We took the 78 that goes down, and we went in by the Salton Sea and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
there.
You went through, and it smells terrible.
It wasn't bad,
wasn't
though.
bad?
No, it wasn't
Yeah.
too bad.
Yeah. When you get into that agricultural area by Mesquite and all those places,
Yep.
and
Brawley
you get
and-
into Brawley, it can get pretty pungent over there. That was how I came out of San Diego. My record for that trip from San Diego to Cleveland is 36 hours.
Okay.
And that was I bought that F-150, didn't have cruise control. And I bought it, and I looked at the map, and I went, I'm alone. I got 2 motorcycles in the back of the truck. What could possibly go wrong? And I just started hammering, and I just was making great time. And by the time I got to, middle of America, I went, well, I should probably go to sleep. I've been up for quite a long time. And I went, but I was listening to a podcast about the original Cannonball, Brock Yates Cannonball. And they said that they'd made the first one to 40 hours from San Diego, New York to San Diego. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the thing going, Jesus Christ, I'm going to Cleveland. I think I could probably match their time, right? If I just never stop.
And now you're on a mission.
I was on a mission.
Yep.
And so I went and I got some, I got my coffee, and I was already awake for 24 hours,
And
at
some
that point.
yellow jackets.
And I didn't need it. I was like, yeah, this is great. And I was just flying along because I was lucky enough that with my speed and the timing of it, it was always dark. And so I just went for it and I just rolled. And when I got to Cleveland at 36 hours and 45 minutes, I was like, and I checked all the timing with the Brock Yates original Cannonball. And I was like, I could have done it. I could have done it in an F-150 with 2 motorcycles in the back. Fucking amazing. And I slept for 2 days.
Yep. Yeah.
2 honest to God days. I did not move.
I think the current record now is like 27
Oh,
hours.
it's insane now. You
Yeah,
can't
it's
do it.
ridiculous.
COVID makes it, it's got an asterisk for COVID now. But for you guys to make that haul with a trailer on in that short period of time is shocking.
Well, I was shocked. I mean, we set out from Cleveland knowing that we wanted to get through Columbus and we wanted to get through Indianapolis and St. Louis. We said, okay, if we stay on track and there's no accidents or whatever, we can get through those cities. And then after that, you can't plan it anymore.
Yeah.
But we went through overnight, so it worked out really well.
It did.
And it was the smoothest trip I've ever done for, a lot of interstate driving.
That's amazing. That really is. Well
But,
done.
so the next morning, then we ended up checking into a hotel there. We got a good night's sleep, and then the next morning we rolled into San Diego,
Right.
Which was a Sunday because we left on a Friday. We got over there. It was Sunday about 1 in the afternoon, maybe.
Yeah.
And there was a U-Haul place that was open, so we said, let's get rid of the trailer right now.
Smart move.
GPS Kevin has a tuk-tuk. He's like, I'll follow you over in the tuk-tuk. And you just follow me. I'll show you how to get there. And his tuk-tuk is licensed in Mexico. It's brand new. He has a Mexican driver's license, so he can operate it legally in the United States.
Nice.
And
That's so cool.
so one of the guys rode over in the tuk-tuk to the U-Haul, and
Right.
we followed him, and then switched out so someone else could ride the tuk-tuk back to his house. And Kevin's got a absolutely beautiful place just outside San Diego, 8 acres on top of a hilltop that looks down on like a development, and you can you can't see the ocean, but you can see the sunset because you're on top of this hilltop, and it's like a compound there. He's got a garage with like 2-bedroom bunkhouse attached to it, and then he's got his house that he lives in, and then he has a old disserviced London double-decker bus.
Double-decker bus out there.
That you can also sleep in. So that had.
Did you guys sleep in it?
Yes.
Well, there were 6 of us out there. 3 guys slept in that, and 3 guys slept in the bunkhouse.
Oh, really?
Which was cool.
Oh,
it was
that's
really
fantastic.
So there's a bed down on the lower level,
lower level.
and then 2 beds up top.
Oh, that's
in the bus.
fantastic. Yeah, that's super cool.
cool. So we, that was Sunday. Monday, then Smith and Brett Baldy and Jeff here all flew into the San Diego airport, which was the day that Verizon's service
They went
out.
down, yes.
So
Yeah,
we
Verizon
couldn't
went
hear
down.
from Chris. We knew they were there, but we
Right.
couldn't get in contact with them. But eventually we collected all the guys and got back up to had all 5 bikes and the truck and 6 guys collected at Kevin's place.
Okay.
He fed us dinner. We all went to bed. The next morning, we rode out. Kevin rode out with us about 100 miles, and then he turned around and went back, and we continued on. And that first day crossing the desert, we ended up in Parker, Arizona that night on the first day, which was a 270-mile ride, I think. It was 117 degrees.
Yeah, that's not cool.
It was never below 100. And most of the time it was between 110 and 115, but it did peak at 117. And
Damn.
we would stop at a gas station or wherever we would stop and just soak our shirts down in water. We were pouring water down our pants, and it felt good when you started moving again because of the evaporative cooling, but your clothing was dry within 30 minutes. It was like a blast furnace. You had to keep your face shield down on your helmet because the air coming in your face was so hot that it actually hurt. It felt like a blow dryer.
It's funny when you're trying to insulate the 98.6 degrees
Yeah.
and keep it close to you because everything else is worse.
Yeah.
So you're like, yeah, give me a winter coat. Sure. It'll hold the 98.6 in
Yeah.
because it'll keep the 117 out.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucks.
It was hot, man. It was hot. And we were worried about Chris that day too, because we would stop someplace and, we'd drink like 2 or 3 bottles of water a piece, and trying to wet yourself down to stay cool. And the bikes were a couple times might have been soft seasoning because it was just hot. And we were trying not to push the bikes too hard. And then it got better after that. The first day was
sounds painful.
Unbearably hot.
The first day sounds miserable.
The second day was about 100 all day long, and it felt great. We're like, oh, it's cool. It's
nice
cool. It's cool. It cooled down. What's the temperature? Oh, it's 100.
Oh man.
And where did we end up the second day? Do you remember? Winslow, Arizona? Was that?
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the data.
Yeah, I remember Winslow, Arizona was a check-in for you guys.
We did. We definitely stayed there. I don't know if that was day 1 or day 2.
I can't remember if you guys went
or
through
day
Flagstaff. I don't think you did.
We did not. We stayed south
Yeah,
of
you stayed
Flagstaff.
south
Yeah,
of
we
that.
came up through Jerome, and we came up through
Jerome's a hell of a stop.
Prescott.
Yeah, Prescott's cool.
We did. We stopped in Jerome, and we had a nice, cool fruit smoothie there. I remember.
Jerome, though, has become a very tourist trap.
Sure.
And it used to be very cool. It used to be a really neat spot on that Route 89.
Yep.
17 Route 89.
Yep.
It used to be a really, really cool spot. You hit Jerome and you'd be like, wow, I just want to hang out here. But now it's gotten touristied up and there's tour buses and stuff that are clogging the roads up in the daytime.
Well, we talked about that when we were there. I was like, it was moderately busy when we were there.
Yeah.
But I said, I wouldn't want to be here like in the height of tourist season.
No, really not. Yeah, it's tough. The couple of times I've gone through there in the wintertime, it's really nice. It's really, really fantastic. But another time I went through there and it was summer and it was just, God damn, like those roads are so curvy. They're so fun.
I was going to say, it's a state highway, 89, and Jerome's on top of like a mountain there.
It is. It's old silver mine.
And the 89 like makes like hairpin turns right through town. It's like
does.
Switchbacks like right in town.
It
reminds me of something like on the Amalfi Coast or something.
It does.
Like,
it's a really weird road, but then when you get loaded full of tourists with campers and stuff, it really ruins it. So it does lose some of its luster. But I'm glad you guys got to check it out. It's cool anyway.
So from there we continued east.
Yep.
So we did between 250 and 350 every single day. And then when we got to St. Louis, actually we were in a place called Eminence, Missouri.
Really?
The truck took off and he was just going to buzz home.
Sure. He figures at this point, you guys can handle it.
At that point, we're
close enough.
3-day ride from home.
Yeah.
And Chris went with him. Chris kept his bike on the truck.
He doesn't need to hang out with you guys now. Yeah.
And so they were able to share the driving to get home from there.
Yeah.
Which was like a 12-hour drive, I think 500, 600 miles, whatever it was. And then we took the minimal stuff with us. We had stuff to adjust a chain. Mm-hmm. We had stuff to fix a flat and maybe one change of clothes, some charge cords, and a toothbrush. That's all.
Right.
We were traveling extremely
pretty
light
damn light at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As far as consumables, like mechanically anyway, the monkeys like chains.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did you guys figure that out?
We did. I had a brand new DID chain on mine.
Right.
It was not a O-ring. It was a standard chain.
Yeah.
That chain had maybe 1,500 miles on it. Maybe.
Those little wheels make a lot of turns.
Exactly. Little wheels, and then it's a 1437.
14 tooth up front, 37 in the back.
Yeah. So that chain was spinning. It was definitely
a lot
spinning.
of fucking ribs.
Yep. But I would have thought like a quality brand name chain would have lasted.
Now you did get it dirty.
I kept it clean.
Oh, you did?
I'm fastidious about chain maintenance.
Yeah.
I had a grunge brush. I had chain lube. And we checked the tension at least once a day.
Oh, really?
And so the way we could measure it is on the adjuster.
You can see how far back you're going.
Yep. Yeah, that. And it would be a 360-degree turn on the adjuster bolt.
Right. Yeah.
And so that's how we were measuring it. Sometimes you'd have to add a quarter turn or 90 degrees extra to that 360.
Okay.
That's how we were saying, okay, we've got another 2 days left before we're out of adjustment. Yep.
Now, how did your sprockets hold up?
Very well.
Okay.
Sprockets didn't show
So
wear
the chains were taking all the
whatsoever.
wear.
It appears that way, yeah.
So the sprockets were eating it up, but the chains were dying.
We're performing an experiment. So we just mounted some you got some X-ring chains.
X-ring chains.
Yeah.
Usually
On Prime Day. We bought them on Prime Day.
Right.
It's $30 a piece.
No, it's fantastic.
So we're going to see if we
are
get any
those
more
420
miles.
chain?
They're 420s.
Yeah, they're 420 chain.
Okay, so the monkeys use 420. The hunter cubs use 428.
428. Yeah. on the
And you
Hunter Cup.
can upgrade the monkeys to a 428,
Yes.
but obviously you have to change the sprockets too.
Right.
And I might go that way in the future.
It's recommended if you're going to ride your monkey.
definitely going
do
with an O-ring or an X-ring.
Yeah.
The next time I replace my chain.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because our little SSR pit bikes run a 420, right? And they run a 420 non-O-ring chain, comes that way from the factory. And of all the ones I've sold, and I've sold a lot of those SSR 125s, we've only sold 2 chains out of hundreds of bikes, right? So we know the people we're selling them to aren't putting a lot of miles on them. You know, they're mostly kids playing around in the dirt and stuff like that. The only time we see people breaking chains is when like Uncle Buck gets on the bike and Uncle Buck goes about 325.
Yeah, but dude,
right?
think about this. My green SSR
got flogged.
I mean, it has to have
Flogged.
1,000 hours on it from
Flogged.
every person in Mid-Ohio, every friend that's ever known me, everything.
Yep.
It is at the end of the adjustment of the chain.
It's definitely
but
stretched.
It's still the original freaking chain.
And the sprockets look good.
Yeah.
So the Chinesium is holding up.
Yeah.
You know what we did?
Remarkably well.
You know what we didn't do today? When we took the old chain off, we should have compared it and
Measured
length
it.
to the new one.
Yeah. Stretch it out.
To
See
see
how many links you bought.
So we were on the road and realized that the chains weren't going to make it home. We went to a Honda dealer at one point. They did not stock the chain. There was a couple like farm supply stores. I'm like, what are the chances that the farm store stocks 420 chain? You know, maybe it works for some kind of tractor or something. I don't know. But we were packing one extra chain with us.
I brought a spare. Yeah.
Okay.
So we had 2 monkeys with bad chains. We had 1 spare chain. Well, then we said, Chris's monkey's in the back of the truck.
That's right.
So we pulled the chain off of his bike to put on the other monkey. So
that's a good one.
We limped them home on the old chains. And then Amazon Prime Days were this week. So we found some Nietzsche or whatever brand chain, $30 a piece for an X-ring. We're like, we'll throw a $30 chain on the used sprockets and see how long it lasts. Right. You know, if it lasts 1,000 or 1,500 miles, it's $30. And then when we go to replace them, we'll replace them with a brand name chain or a bigger brand name.
If you are in that position in the future, not that it's going to happen today, but a handy tip is a 420 chain is equal to number 40 agricultural chain. And number 40 agricultural chain is at every lawnmower shop in America.
Beautiful. Okay.
So you just count your links and go get it. Technically, it's number 41. They don't carry number 41 usually, but they have number 40 chain at a lot of Home Depots.
Okay.
So a lot of Home Depots and a lot of Lowe's will have number 40 chain because that's usually what's under the old chain drive lawn tractors, stuff like that. So it's a good tech tip from Yankee Phil. The 41 is exactly what the pins come out to, but you can totally run a 40. It's beefier too. It's stronger chain.
Good to know.
Yeah, that's the SAE equivalent to the 420. Yeah.
Well, we went by a couple, you know, you're like out in farm country and there's all kinds of like tractors and threshers and combines and everything else. You're like, there's got to be chains on those machines. And here's a parts store guy. And plus, people that live out there, they fix shit all the time. You know, they weld shit, they replace bearings, whatever, in the field. And I'm like, we could probably find chain if we really need it. But
you can put a 40 chain on a 420 sprocket, but you can't put a 420 chain on a 40 sprocket because the difference is in the width between the plates. So a 40 has a little bit extra plate width.
Okay.
You know, the rollers are a little wider,
side to side,
sloppy side to side. Yeah, a little sloppy side to side, but it does work perfectly.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
We did, when we were in that town of Raton, New Mexico, as we were going to the hotel, we see in a storefront, like a downtown, like old-fashioned storefront, there was like a theater with a neon sign, and then there was like all these motels with old school neon signs and stuff. Well, in the middle of this like strip of downtown, there's a Honda dealer there, like it looked like a mom and pop Honda with a monkey sitting in front of it.
Sitting out in front.
We go to this hotel that we booked, and it's like 2 blocks past where the Honda shop was. We said, "Hey, let's run back over to that Honda shop.
Check it out."
And so we did. We go over there, and this dude says, "My dad opened this Honda shop in 1964 or 66 or something, and he worked in here 6 days a week till he was 99 years old." And he said, "I grew up in this shop, and now I run it." And these dudes were super cool. And the guy said, I sell all the bikes at MSRP. He said, if I get a monkey or a hunter cub or anything else, I don't mark it up. I sell it for what it's priced at. And he goes, that's the way we do business. And he talked about his numbers, how many bikes he sells and blah, blah, blah. But he said Honda leaned on them. They wanted a 10,000-foot showroom, and this is a storeroom this is a storefront that's no bigger than this basement. And it's really just
nothing I can do with that.
A 30-foot wide, 50-foot deep storefront, and they want 10,000 square feet.
God.
So he said, we bought the building across the street, which is our warehouse. He goes, that appeased Honda
They got
for
their
the
10,000
square
square
footage.
feet.
But he said, this is the storefront. This is the showroom right here. And there was maybe 6 bikes in that showroom? Maybe. You know what was sitting in there? Was a yellow Goldwing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because Chris Smith immediately said, that's what Phil wants right there. You know?
Well, I want an F6B, but same. Yeah, same.
Bright lemon yellow. They were working.
I know where to get one.
So we visited with these guys, and they were very interested in our trip. We gave them a ClevelandMoto podcast sticker, which they put right on the front window by the entryway door. And we had a really good visit with the guys, and I think I have their card here. I was looking through my wallet for it. I was going to give them a direct shout out with what they're.
We had a customer come in the other day, wants to do a trade in, buy a Vespa, but he's got a 2006 Honda Goldwing. So that is one of the 1500 cc the flat 6 motors, and it's it's charcoal gray, and it's just got every molecule of chrome you can put on a Goldwing. And I was like, but you probably don't want to sell it to me for what I want to buy it for. And he goes, it's only got 23,000 miles on it. It's perfect in every known way. It's got all the stuff, all the infotainment, whatever. 2006 Goldwing. I said, well, what do you want to sell it for? And he goes, $6,000. I want to sell it for $6,000. And I was like, that bike will probably run another 100,000 miles. Its biggest problem is that it's 18 years old. The guy loves it dearly. He's taken impeccable care of it, and it's $6,000, which is straight up cheap scooter money. It's not even real motorcycle money at this point in the game for a cross-country touring platform. And I was dying to be like, sold. You take the Vespa, I'll take the Goldwing. We're good, And that little devil and angel that comes up on your shoulder. And my brain was going, okay, the Vespa he wants is like 7,600 out the door. He wants $6,000 for his Goldwing. I can tell the man, tell you what, give me $2,000 and your Goldwing and we'll call it square. You could probably walk away from this situation a hero. But then I have a Goldwing. And what the fuck am I going to do with a Goldwing? I don't like the motorcycles I have now.
How old is this Goldwing?
It's a 2006.
Okay.
So it is still the more modern reverse, all the technical Goldwing.
If you end up with a bike, then you got to do this cross country. Cross country trip.
I know you do, right?
That's what it's for. Yep.
You cannot use that motorcycle as a back and forth to work commuter.
I could. I 61 miles each way.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You have the most comfortable 61 miles.
So what you do is you take the Harley back from Sleepy and you give him the Goldwing for 6 months.
That has been my commuter.
Man.
It's a good commuter, man.
And that was the devil and angel situation. I was like, dude, do not do this. Do not do this.
Which was telling you which? Which was the devil? What was the devil?
The devil was like, take the deal. When are you going to get a Goldwing for $6,000?
Yeah.
Right? And the angel was like, you dumbass. I got a Harley Davidson Road King that I don't ride because it's bulky, and it's a Harley Davidson cop bike. And I'm like, you will never ride that fucking thing, man. You don't need that.
Hey, I want to give these guys a shout out.
Give them a shout out.
I just found a card in my wallet because I knew the guy had given me an R&D Honda,
nice.
R&D, Raton, New Mexico.
Raton, New Mexico.
Super solid dudes. If I lived anywhere near there, I'd be buying my Hondas from him. He was.
Nice.
They were salt of the earth, old school, mom and pop shop, and just wanted to say hey.
Give him a shout out, right? That's cool.
Did it have the Queen's chair like that?
Of course it did.
Oh my goodness.
Of course it did.
The tour pack on the back.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I don't need
I know
that.
I know a guy who wants one of those to put on his CT90.
I have a CT problem.
That's the joke. Is every time I talk about motorcycles with Becky on the back because she's not real keen on riding,
Right. Yeah.
but she's like, I could be a passenger. I'm like, well,
yeah.
that's the thing right there.
You should have got it for Tom.
I mean, it literally is the Miata of motorcycles.
That motorcycle has, again, I would have to ride it with a paper bag over my head.
Oh.
You know, I don't want anybody to see me riding that bike. I just,
Did it have the newer coffee maker in it? The espresso?
my God, man. And that year motorcycle, that is the 1800. I said 1500. I lied. It's 1800 cc's. Come on, man. I don't need that.
It's got the satellite radio. And
That motorcycle would make me do exactly what you're talking about. Like, you know what I need to do? I need to ride to Sturgis. You know what I need to do? I need to ride to San Diego. You know what I need to do? I need to ride to Florida. But you don't need to do any of those things, because all doing that is going to be like, okay, well, I'm halfway there. Let's buy a tire.
Yeah.
Now I'm halfway back. Let's buy another tire.
Out in Seattle, I did a ride out on the San Juan Islands. So took a ferry, went over to one of the islands and was riding all around. And then I was in line to get back on the ferry to head home. And there was a guy on a Goldwing, and I ended up parking the monkey behind him because we can load first.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting to have that bike.
Yeah.
Well, it's the opposite, right? They're both Hondas, and I had a great BS session with the guy just talking about it. I mean, he had a hitch on it. He usually hauls a trailer with his wife, and they do this cross country stuff. And he led me out. So when I got back to from the islands and I was heading home, he just went to the front, and I'm able to hold 60 on my monkey.
Oh, of course,
and he just he took the win for me.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, it was cool. And he was, we thumbs up here and there.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
That's cool.
Two ends of the spectrum.
with this, you just do the dark sider on the rear.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, this is
It's
a
not
perfect
going to turn.
It's a perfect bike for a dark side.
Dude,
I mean,
I forget to tell you, the Dark Side video we did on Moto Stories, it's at like 100,000 views, and people are still arguing.
I know.
Every day.
We get comments. People are pissed. People are so pissed about that damn thing.
Hey, you know what the answer is? Rotella.
Yeah, whatever the question is, Rotella's the
No,
answer.
but dude, like today, how many years ago was that?
It was a long time ago. It's 3 years ago.
Today, I got a 5-paragraph
Hate mail.
response to this thing.
Hate mail about dark sides.
Oh, dude, it is. That's a gift that.
Well, you know, Wendy,
who
who hung out with us and has ridden 5 FGR 1300s into the ground, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of miles. Wendy, straight up motorcycle mechanic to the gods. She runs dark side. You know, she runs dark side. She wants 40,000, 50,000 miles out of the tire.
40,000 mile rear tire.
And you're not really hanging it out there too often.
If all you're doing is riding in a straight line across country 7 times,
and even if
matter?
you're airing the thing down to 14 or 18 psi.
Exactly.
Let the sidewall flex. The bike will be fine. On a cruise ship like this that weighs 900 goddamn pounds.
Right.
Yes, you air the tire down a little bit. The side's going to squat.
Look, the microwave is going to like beep 17 times, and you're going to be able to reach in and get your toaster strudel. It's fine.
You're going to be fine. Yeah, but I mean, for me to own that motorcycle is the dumbest thing in the world. I haven't done a cross-country trip in a long time.
For Tom next year, if you actually want to come to Mid-Ohio on a bike,
Right.
I did see a German company now that outfits all 3 panniers where they turn into a complete kitchen set.
Yes, I saw that too.
Did you see that?
You're going to have to sell that to Becky,
It is
actually.
freaking amazing. I'm talking like German engineering,
Oh, I get
high
it.
quality.
No, I get it.
And it's like, I'm not talking like a couple of burners. It's got like a it's like a
You don't
Sous vide, so you can, you can be sous vide your steaks on the way there.
Sleepy, you don't get it. Mm-hmm. So between Becky and Sean and who's the guy from Columbus that does the bread?
Anston.
Anson.
Yes.
They're going to have a complete... It is my arm? Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to have a complete kitchen setup.
Oh yeah, these guys are going
Like, not fucking
super
lying.
heavy
They're
duty.
going to have like a soup kitchen going on in the middle of Mid-Ohio.
Yeah.
So...
I think the Mid-Ohio recipe should just be grilled cheeses and tomato soup.
Yeah, but
That's it.
Deadlot.
Don't look at me.
Deadlot style.
That's it.
Look, this evening's cabbage
soup.
rolls
Shut the
and
fuck up.
pierogies and herring. I don't think I've had herring in like 10 years.
Dude, are you discounting your dashboard sandwich? You always need a good dashboard sandwich at Mid-Ohio.
Dashboard sandwich at 3 o'clock in the morning.
As he goes back for more pierogi.
I'm going back for more pickled herring.
Pickled herring.
I'm all about the cheese sandwich, but man, you gotta have a dashboard sandwich too.
But like I'm old school. You give me a grill, I will make steaks, I will make burgers, I'll make brisket. I don't care. They're like, no, we have to have a 5-course. They're gonna have a candelabras next year.
I wouldn't doubt it. All right, so where are you guys at now?
All right. Well, something that Jeff said about the Gold Wing leading him off the ferry, and he drafted him. So when we're out there in the desert, I mean, there was a couple places where the road was fucking arrow straight for 20 miles. So we did like Jeff's an old bicycle guy. I'm an old bicycle guy. So we did like a Peloton where we were just like nose to tail, like in a draft line going across the desert. And like the monkeys would comfortably cruise about 51.
Yeah.
Jeff's the smallest guy. Chris was the biggest guy. So Chris was pushing more air. So he had trouble getting his bike over 50. We were drafting each other NASCAR style, nose to tail, 5 bikes at 57, 58. And then when the guy in the front would go up a hill or maybe start to lose a little momentum, he'd peel off. The other guys would rip right by and he'd fall in the back. And we kept that going for the better part of a day. Chris wasn't real comfortable riding in that close proximity.
That's why you put him in the front. Right. Because he doesn't fucking know.
But he doesn't push the wind. I mean, he can't push through the wind either, so he couldn't have went more than
I can cut through the wind okay and get it out of
You're
the way.
going to open the door.
I can break wind like nobody's business, so I get it.
Yeah, let the small guy break the wind.
So here's some numbers for you, Pete. I don't think I shared this one with you yet. So this was leaving Dodge City when it was just like the smaller group. And we rode, so the total time for that day was 8 hours. Mm-hmm. We were moving for 6.5 of those 8 hours.
Okay. Yeah.
And the average moving speed over that time, and keep in mind, we're going across stoplights, stopping for gas, all kinds of stuff. And our average moving speed, this is our best number, our average moving speed was 45.3 miles per hour.
That's really good.
For those monkeys, that's
really good.
Going through small towns and stuff.
Holding 52 solid. You got to be. To get that number, you got to be holding 52 solid.
Yeah, this is the first time I looked at it. That's pretty decent for 6.5 hours.
That is very good. Yeah, that's an exceptional pull.
It's painful.
It's painful.
I'm cringing as I revisit these.
So that's numbers. A good time to talk about our day too. So every day we'd get up at 5:30 because most of the places we were staying started serving breakfast at 6, and I'm usually like on the coffee already, and then as soon as we can get the food at 6, we're like eating, and then we were rolling 7:30, a couple times at 8 because it was a little chilly.
Yeah.
So we'd ride from 7:30. Typically, we were getting off the road at 4:30 in the afternoon, and then we were coming eastward, so we're having to give hours back. We changed, 3 time zones. So they were like 10-hour riding days most of the time. And we were covering, like I said, 300 miles as average. So there wasn't a lot of time for, smelling the roses kind of thing along the way. We did stop and look at a couple cool things. We went to like this old Indian trading post thing that was a National Park Service facility, but it's still this place was still a functioning trading post too, like a little general store where you could buy like Indian blankets or Native American blankets, I should say.
Yeah,
and they had like old gun collections in there and stuff and shit, all these old pictures, and that was really cool. And I would have liked to have done more stuff like that, but we'd still be in Kansas right now if we were. You gotta like
slow the trip down that much, right?
Yeah, but. So, yeah, big long days every single day. We would eat breakfast at the hotel, be riding. We didn't really eat lunch. We'd snack along the way during the day. We had all kinds of, like, snacks with us and stuff, and we had water, especially when the truck was with us. And then when we'd get off the road at night, most of our hotels we'd book them a day in advance, but a couple times we had trouble finding a place. So when we'd finally like settle into a place, then we'd all say like, "Hey, well, let's meet in a half an hour and we'll go get dinner." So it was dinner, and then I was asleep by 9 o'clock most days.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just,
when you're doing those, it is hard to stay up late.
Yeah.
Well, there's it's not like you're doing a physical exertion; it's mental.
Right. Yes.
Like your head has to work right hard, and so I also
think it's funny, when you do a long ride especially on slow bikes. Because then your brain starts doing road math, and your brain starts doing road math, and you're like, okay, everything's you go from a base 10 economy to a base 60 economy because you're thinking about minutes and seconds and stuff like that, and you're like, okay, this is the way it's going to work out. We know that I can do 100 miles on a tank, right? So like 100 miles on a tank, and we're averaging 50 mph. And so then you start breaking this into fractions.
Yep.
And you're going, okay, well, that means that we're going to be able to run out for, 10 hours. Nope, that's not going to work. Why? Because we have headwinds, right? Or that's not going to work. Why? Because we have to go through.
Oof.
Headwinds are a disaster on small bikes.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
They're a disaster. It kills you if you're looking at your GPS and you know you've got your bike dialed. In my case, I was like, okay, my GPS would say I was at 66. My bike would say I was at, my GPS was at 60. My bike speed was 66. So it's a 10%, right? Very easy math to do. And I tracked it down from my top speed all the way down to like 30 miles an hour. And the speedo is pretty much off by 10%. Yay. Thank you for, consistency. It's going to make my life a little bit easier knowing that. But when I'd pull a headwind on a bike that my cruising speed was 60. So my cruising speed was indicated 66, GPS 60. I catch a 15 mile an hour headwind. Oh shit.
That's going to hurt.
That is going to hurt when I'm 48,
Yep.
when I'm pulling 48 GPS and I'm like, all my math goes out the window. So now I'm not going to bed until 11 o'clock. And I need to make my next fuel stop shorter. And maybe I don't need to poo until I get to the hotel, right? It's funny, that weird road math, the weird road math that pops up and you're like, oh shit.
Well, that was the thing too, because like Tim was the only smoker in the group. So when we would stop at a fuel stop, we would fuel his bike first.
Yeah, so you can go have a
so
smoke.
he could go have a smoke.
Right.
Because we don't want to fuel him last
No.
and then have to wait for him to finish his third cigarette before we can go again. But we also got our fuel stops down. So, there's 5 bikes on the road. Each of them's going to take between a half and a gallon of fuel, depending on how far our last stop was. And so we would fill them all up. Like Jeff would pay for this fuel stop. I'd pay for the next one.
card.
Chris would pay for the next one. And, it's a total of 3 or 4 gallons of gas, tops.
Right. Exactly.
But then one guy would take his helmet off and the other guy wouldn't take his helmet off. And then one guy wants to go in the building.
Add 15 minutes.
One guy wants to go in the building to take a piss. I'm like, I'm going to piss right over there on that bush or behind the fence or whatever. Tim's smoking his second cigarette by now. We're getting some water. It was, some of the stops were like painful because
I know.
it was like
you
hurting.
see the guy going for his, see the guy going for his straps and like, don't you even.
Yeah.
Don't you even. Yeah. And were you guys using comms? So you
Yeah,
were
we did.
using comms, right?
So we were all on Senna.
Right. Except for Chris, who had tin cans and string.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, right. Yeah, we really enjoyed that. We were busting his balls when we had that call in and you guys were bringing that up. So, 4 of us were on mesh and Chris was Bluetooth in.
Right.
And I'll say it, mesh is the way to go.
Of course
mesh
it
is really the way to go.
Absolutely.
It's nice. It's very nice.
Yeah, that opens you up. If you've got a communicator system that can do mesh, honestly, if you get a communication system that can't do mesh at this point, you're screwed because your line of sight is so short. You forget anything resembling a turn.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, when you're Bluetooth only, yeah, you're 100 feet away. I can't hear you.
But trying to like pair 5 guys on Bluetooth and, like I want to talk to you, but Jeff shut his off now. I can't talk to you.
Can't talk to you. Right.
Or it's just fidgety and you got to set it up just right. The mesh you turn it on and it's just open mesh.
Were you guys all running Cardos or you're all running Sennas?
All Senna.
You're all running Sennas.
100% Senna, yeah.
Yep. That's fine.
Yeah.
Great.
So I actually got a review. I'm going to start it tomorrow actually of this company that now has an affordable, like it's like the Chinese version of like, they were always like $50 on eBay.
Right.
But now it's mesh.
Right.
Okay.
So they sent me 2 units. I'm going to start messing with them and doing it tomorrow. But I think they retail for 2 in a box for $179 with mesh, and it's supposed to work, and it's supposed to be up 3,000 meters, I think is probably what it is.
3,000 meters.
So
That's
a mile and a half.
3K.
That's 3K. That's a mile and a
pretty
half.
far.
That's
That's-
far.
that's
That's
far.
far.
It's actually almost 2 miles, 1.8.
Yeah, that would be farther than what Senna's doing.
Well,
Right.
is that between 2 units?
From
or-
2 units.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That's-
So yeah, when
that-
you stretch that out, with if you make the move and you go from an FRS based system, which is pretty tight, pretty close in, you can go pretty far on an FRS radio system, farther than you'd think you could if you were to run that kind of a system. You're supposed to get a license. You're supposed to spend $35 to get the GMRS license.
Yeah.
which literally you just fill out a form online and send $35 to the United States government. And then I think you've got a 10-year license to be a GMRS operator. And anybody in your family is allowed to use it, by the way. It's the dumbest thing ever. Yeah. If you're a sad ham, I'm sorry, man.
That's why they call it the FRS. It's the family radio
system. Exactly. But if you spend the extra $20 on the equipment and you get a GMRS, now, even without a repeater, you can run 5 miles.
Yeah, I've pushed a talk on the KTM, right? That's what we would run when we're off-road because as much as I like the Sennas, off-road, as soon as I'm over the hump...
You can't do anything.
Yeah, so that's why the FRSs came in handy.
Yeah, the FRSs are really good. I just switched everything over to the GMRSs. And so my go-to-war bag's got 4 GMRS radios in it. And I was like, I'm going to just spend the $35 just to get the little piece of paper that says, like, I'm not some dick. They've never written a ham violation to anybody ever for all these, Baofeng radios and everything that are out there for $23. But unless you're a ham guy, you really don't. Most people don't understand the way those work, and you're not going to get anything out of them. Whereas GMRS is really fucking easy to use, and it's instantly on, push to talk, you're ready to rock.
Yeah, my horn button, right? But your crew's got to be dialed.
They do.
Everybody has to be in.
Yep, I agree. And if you can do that, that works really good. If you're going to use the Sennas or the Cardos or anything else, just keep in mind that mesh feature ties you all together. It's amazing.
So the mesh could work. It could work because you can leapfrog over and get it. Yeah.
So that's been the way that we kind of experienced it. Was you could send your point rider out so far until you're losing them, right? And then they back in just a slight bit.
Nice.
And then you've got a 5-mile overlap that you can cover. It's a ridiculous amount of space from the tip to the tail.
And 24, I think 24 is the limit. You can have 24 guys.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. There are so many people that you can put on that mesh. It really is a great thing. Yeah. And it's fun. It's a good technique.
The simplicity of it and the quality of
because you're dealing with a digital signal.
It's impressive.
Yeah. It's those digital signals are light years ahead of an analog system.
Yeah.
And you'll never have enough squelch control to make an analog system exist in your headphones. You'll want to murder somebody. You just will.
Occasionally I would, when we're putting 8 hours in a day, I would go to the back of the line and I would just make some phone calls and I would talk to my sister. I have my stepmom's in Florida, in Tampa. So I was talking to her regularly, checking in on how she was doing.
Right.
And I'm riding along at 50 miles an hour, and they wouldn't know it. Yeah. And they would ask, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing."
I'm just driving across America on a little mini bike.
They would not. They couldn't tell. I should say. They knew what I was doing.
Yeah, I've done that. I've got the Senna 10C Pro with the video camera and everything in it.
Oh, nice.
And it's funny because I can make phone calls, take phone calls, and do everything else. And nobody gets it. I'm going 85, 90 miles an hour on a bike with no windshield.
Iris was saying
their noise canceling is amazing.
Yeah, she actually said, "You sound better than if I were talking on this, like holding it up to my ear."
And I'm not wearing a Schuberth, like totally sealed helmet. I'm using a Bell helmet, and I'm on a motorcycle with no windshield. The technology is pretty amazing.
Speaking of, Jeff and I were both wearing Schuberths.
Yeah.
We found actually, he called me or I called him a couple years ago on Black Friday. They were like C4 Pros were like being blown out.
Yeah.
And we each bought them. And that helmet is so soundproof. It's amazing. When I'm riding the small bike, I don't even wear earplugs inside of it because it isolates the outside noise so well.
Yeah.
And
that's a C4 Pro?
Yep, C4 Pro. Which it's funny because the C4 Pro came with its own integrated speakers and microphone, and you were supposed to plug these modules into the helmet to make it. They were Bluetooth modules, but it plugged into the body of the helmet. Well, I cut all that shit out there and put the Senna 50S.
Because you can only do the old school. They wouldn't do the modern.
They won't do the modern, right? Because I have the Schuberth C3, and the C3, I didn't buy it. A customer of mine bought it because his goal was total wind noise cancellation. So of course somebody told him, "Well, you need a Schuberth. If you want to not have noise, buy the Schuberth." So he bought the Schuberth and he rode it twice, and he was like, I still have all the noise in the world. I'm like, it's a modular helmet. You're going to have some noise, right? Unless you tape up the sides, you're probably going to have some noise. And so he said, oh, fuck it. You've got a small head. Take it. Because I wear like a medium and a half, depending on, whose helmet I'm buying. And so I put on the C3 and I was like, okay, it's a pretty good helmet. I rocked it around and I rode it around. And I was like, yeah. So then I put I've got an Arai, and then my daily driver, I just use a Bell, a Bell Pro. So I've got a Bell Pro because it has got my favorite thing in the world, an auto tinting shield. Fucking every helmet should mandatorily have an automatically darkening visor. And the fact that the cheapest helmet I own came with a automatically, transitions visor has put that helmet on my head every day. And all the other ones that have the flip down, this, that, or the other thing. Well, I wear glasses. The flip down hits my glasses. I like it. I think that's great, but I still think, man, I just wear full face now. I don't wear modulars anymore. I've given up on trying to have a quiet modular because
the C4 Pro does it for me. I can tell you that.
You like that one?
I do.
Yeah, that's good.
It's a modular.
And they're affordable. I mean, they've come down. If you buy C5s C5s can be big money. They're big money, but the C4s are dropped enough. You can buy it.
They got to clean out their inventory to sell the C5. So
that's exactly right.
Giving them away.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't think there's enough of a difference between those two helmets to justify the extra $200.
I tell you what, the Schubert helmet though, the fit and finish, the lining inside, the way. One thing that I've had plenty of helmets that you open the airflow vent on the top of it, and you're like, I can't tell if it's open.
No, you
or
can't
closed.
tell. You have no idea.
That Schubert helmet, you open it and you're like, oh man, that feels
It's
good.
like a wind tunnel.
It is. It feels like it goes right across my bald little head, man. And it's like tickling what hair I do have left up there, but you can really feel it. It really does flow air through there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's another one. It's like, what kind of helmet do you have? And you wait and you put your pinky up and you're like, I have a Schubert. I have a Schubert. Of course.
Well, I mean,
of course you have a Schubert. You
How
have a
many
BMW.
BMWs do you
right,
have?
exactly. Oh, I didn't know Schubert's helmet came without a BMW rondelle on it.
Right.
I thought that was just a BMW helmet you had.
When I got my BMW, they're like, I see a Shoei and a Scorpion.
Right.
And we have to talk to you.
We
about
got to
some
talk to
things.
you. Come over here into our Schubert department. Yes. That's so funny. What piece of equipment did you guys have on the trip that you're like, that shit did not work? I mean, chains sounds like the chains are pretty soft.
Chains
right
were
there.
a big disappointment. They really were. The stock Monkey tires are shot after the 2,800 miles. I don't know how many miles were on beforehand. I put a set of Mitas tires on my bike.
Before or after?
Before.
Okay.
But I also used them around the Lake Erie Loop. 4,000 miles on the rear, and it's still got some wear in it.
Okay.
And like you said, that tire's so small, it's turning a lot
Making
of
a lot of loops.
revolutions per mile,
Don't take this the wrong way, but the way my math works out, Chris came to this party with two bikes. Mm-hmm. Both of the bikes had about the same number of miles on them.
Yes.
When they rolled out of Cleveland. Chris displaces a certain tonnage. Mm-hmm. You do not. The interesting test would have been on the stock Honda rubber to see after 2,000 miles who was where on their tires.
Yeah.
Because what we learned cross country is heat is the enemy of tires.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to run at 70 miles per hour for 7 hours, your tire is going to disappear. If you're going to run at 50 for 7 hours, your tire's going to last a lot longer. Mm-hmm. You guys can't go faster than 50. But the tire is a little tiny tire. It's making a lot more turns. So I was curious to see, but because Smith punted out early enough in the event.
He did about half the trip, but he did the hard half the trip.
He did the gravel.
Well, no, he did the 117 miles through 117.
Oh, you're right. He did the
desert.
super high heat.
So you talk about that was one concern
Munching a tire.
that we had out there. I was like, are these tires going to last through this heat? Because if it's 117 air temperature, I have no idea what that pavement
165.
is. But it was full sun, and we were running those bikes all day long.
Yeah.
And like you said, Chris's 2.5 bills probably.
Right, exactly.
And that's a lot of wear on that little tire.
It is.
So that day, that was a 9.5 hour day, 7 hours of ride time.
Oh, man.
And keep in mind, the average temperature was 100. And the first part of the day is cold, actually, because it's desert.
Desert time.
And so from noon on, it
just
was in the
sweltering.
110 to 115.
And you're right. The road
and it hit
temperatures have
117.
got to be 130 degrees.
I had to keep my visor closed
You can't let air get on
because
you.
the air was
Dry your eyeballs right out.
so warm that it was uncomfortable.
And the pavement out there was rough too. It was like, I mean, it was pavement, but it was like super rough sandpaper. And I was just thinking, this heat and the speed and the rough pavement. I'm like, these tires are gonna be done in like a couple of days.
That's what I thought for sure.
But they held up pretty well.
Nice.
Yeah, they did.
Because those Hondas come with IRCs, don't they?
No, those are V-rubber.
Oh, they are. You're right. Because I ordered those.
Well, actually,
those are
the Hunter
V-rubbers.
Cub does have IRCs.
The
on
Hunter
it.
Cub is the IRC. But
The-
you're right. I ordered the
monkeys
V-rubbers.
are V-rubber.
Yeah.
Yep.
And again, if you have to buy those, I know it's shocking, Revzilla. It's shocking that they have them cheaper than the Honda dealer does.
Okay.
So for Honda branded V-rubber tires.
So
Go figure.
what I wish the bikes would have had was 10 horsepower. So there's like a magic number, like on average anyway, 10 horsepower is going to equal 60 miles per hour. If you do the math.
Magic math, yeah.
And so these things come in at like, maybe 8 or 9, right? And so like, a guy like me, I can kind of do the 60, but it's hard. I
real
got to be in the,
Yeah,
the tuck
it's real
position,
hard.
and that's not, you can't do that all day long.
Yep.
So I think just a little bit extra power on those things would be nice to have made it a little more enjoyable.
You should have had the TNT 135, man.
We put a GV windshield that was designed to go on a Kimco scooter, and it's a very, very big windshield. So it's it's for a maxi scooter, and so it's a very angular, very big size windshield for a 250cc scooter. And the GV touring one is about 4 inches taller than their standard shield, and because it's GV, it's aerodynamically pretty good. So we put it on the bike and we bungee corded it where we had to. And we did some preliminary testing before we went out on the road. And what we learned was that having that, and I'm a big person, James is a big person, and having that aero advantage of that windshield bought us the difference between holding 60 was kind of a struggle. Now, keep in mind, our bike was a ringer bike. We had different chain and sprockets, right? We had a different motor. We had a Piranha motor. So we were kind of cheating, but the whole idea was the spirit of the event. But still, without the windshield, without the increased aero of the windshield, we could not hold a GPS 60. With the windshield, we could easily hold a GPS 60.
That's a really good point.
And that windshield, not only did it give us the extra miles per gallon, it gave us the extra speed, but most importantly, it gave us the extra comfort.
Yeah.
And having that not 60 mile an hour wind pushing on your chest for an hour and a half at a time, because we changed riders every gas stop. So that windshield turned out to be the honey of like the whole trip was that.
And they
particular
make
windshield.
these little small ones that go over the headlight bucket for the monkeys. I've seen those things in the pictures, and I would always just brush them off.
Sure.
You just planted a seed for me going,
keep in mind.
I think that might have a little bit of to get you over the hump.
On my TNT 135, there's what's the name of the brand? It's like hot something. I don't know. It's like a very generic, like Dixie used to sell it. It's just like a nice little roundy kind of windscreen, but it's about this tall. It changed my life.
Yeah.
I can that 72 all day long.
Right.
76.
76
Downhill
with a tailwind and a decent dose of anger.
But like you can't go over 76 on the TNT.
Yeah, you
It's
can't.
I think it's physically
and it's
impossible.
indicated 76, so real world is about 68.
Yeah.
Wind load is exponential. So
is.
you come up against certain speeds. Like you said, 76 might be the magic
Turns into
number.
a wall.
It turns into a wall.
It's hull speed at that point. You're not going to go any faster.
But the monkey's pushing a lot of frontal area. It's got that big fat tire for one. It's got a big scoop of a front fender for
it's
two.
the only motorcycle I've ever seen that is less aerodynamic than I am.
Okay.
So like usually the human being is the least aerodynamic part of any motorcycle, right?
Yeah.
But the monkey does manage to fight that.
Yeah.
The monkey does manage to give you something that actually is negatively aerodynamic, right?
It's got the air box has a lot of frontal area, and it's like right where it forces your knees out a little bit wide.
Right. It does make your knees wider. And at least when we were doing it, the bike we were on was basically a stick. So we could tuck your knees in. So you could tuck your knees in, and then your knees were a little bit wider than the oil cooler. And so you were still dynamically efficient. And then you can get your upper torso behind the windscreen. Mm-hmm. You get behind the windscreen and you get into a nice tuck. And keep in mind, based on our fuel economy, we're only ever going to be riding the bike for about an hour and 20 minutes per victim, per trip. So you can suffer through a lot of shit for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you just lock into the thing and, you'd go to wide open throttle and then you'd back off. So you'd pull wide open throttle and then you'd back off until you actually felt a reduction in speed. And that's where you'd hold it.
I spent hours doing that on the front, on the Monkey. That was how I rode.
Yeah, it's the best way.
Countless hours.
You'll get the exact efficiency that you can get out of that bike. Yeah. If you're fully pinned, you're wasting.
Yep.
You're throwing shit away.
Yep.
So you'd go fully pinned and then back off a tiny bit until you can appreciate the difference. And that's where you stay.
Yep.
And it's amazing. You'll pick up 10 or 12 miles per gallon that way. And on that kind of a trip, that's a lot. 10 or 12 miles per gallon when you're talking about going 3,000 miles is a lot, and that's road math. That's where you're like, oh, that's cool. I'm supposed to be switching over to reserve right now, and I'm not. That's fucking weird. And then you start second guessing yourself, like with us, because we had a fuel tap. And I'm like, oh shit, man. Normally I'd switch over to reserve at 189 or whatever. So at 89, I'd be switching to reserve. Well, now I'm at 94 and I haven't switched to reserve yet. Oh shit, I bet you we left it in the reserve position and I'm going to get fucked. No, it was we just got better at it. We just got a little bit better. So it's a fun thing doing long distance on little tiny bikes. You said it earlier, right?
It is. The day I would do all that and the day would go by
so much faster,
a little bit more efficiently, right? Because I'm doing just what you're describing as I'm riding along. Yeah, especially with that throttle and the body position.
I got a Sharpie marker and I put it in my pocket. And every time I would gas up, I would write the details on the speedo on the crystal. So I'd write the speedo's this big, and I would write with the Sharpie the miles, the gallons, and the time. Right. So that was my record. So that's my trip sheet. And so the whole time I'm riding now for the entire next segment, I'm doing all the math. So I'm doing all the math in my head as I'm looking down at the speedo, looking at the speedo cluster, reading my numbers. Okay, got it. And so then, boom, next fuel up, I get a whole new set of data. And it's fun because it keeps your brain occupied.
Yep. Yeah, time, speed, distance.
It's so much fun. Yeah. And that part of it's like, that's really fun because then you can look at the GPS and see what the GPS said. And you're like, yeah, I did pretty good on that one. Like that worked out.
The other thing I do to occupy myself on some of the long days where it's maybe boring is if I know I'm going 300 miles that day, once I get over the 150 hump, it becomes a countdown.
It does.
It's like I'm on the way up the hill, then I'm on the way down the hill. And when it gets under 100, I'm like, fuck, I can do 100 with my eyes closed.
I can stand on my head for 100 miles. It's no big deal.
And then I'm thinking like, we should do an extra 50. It's like you look at the time, it's like, it's only 2:00. I could do that 100. It's only.
And Pete and I have this thing, but we can suffer pretty good. Like, you want to go farther? All right. I'm not going to say no. And if I ask, he's not going to say no.
Right.
All right. Yeah.
That'll bite us, though. That will bite us.
Oh, it always does. Because invariably you're like, okay, I think we peel and we could totally handle another fuel up. We could go one more gas stop. And then you realized there isn't one.
When he starts falling down, I'm like, okay, the day's getting too long.
Or like when we were out west, we're like, if we go past this town, we go into the unknown region of like 100 miles of nothingness. Yeah. And now you can't go 50. You got to go 100 to get to the next town that has a hotel and or a gas station.
It bites you in the ass real
and
fast.
Or someplace to eat.
No, there was a point in the desert where I told James, I was like, you know where we are right now? I could kill you on the spot right now and it'd take 3 days for anybody to find you. I'll already be home. I'll deny this entire trip happened before they even find you. Because we're that far from anything. Yeah. There's no ambient light. There's no cell phone signal. There's no nothing. But more importantly, there's no gas, and we need it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, that came from us going, I think we can pull. I think we can stretch it out one more gas stop.
Right.
And we're sitting there going, yeah, how's that working out for you? Not working out so good. Yeah, that'll bite you in the ass, man. That little extra pull when you get cocky. Because you're like, oh, the sun's not down yet.
You got to learn to know your limits.
Stick to your plan.
Actually, we had Chris with it. He's like, "Fuck it, I'm not going another mile." We're so he was the voice of reason, I should say.
That's true. That's good.
But
it's actually good to have one of those because then you say, okay, well, we were planning on staying at this place, at this hotel, and everything else. Yeah, and that's gonna keep you from doing something stupid.
And it's also to stop and see something interesting, right? Instead of riding by.
Yeah. I was thinking about this when you were talking about the distances you covered and everything else. Highway 89 goes from Mexico to Canada, and the vast majority of Highway 89 is 50 miles an hour. And it goes through Zion. It goes through Sedona. It goes through Flagstaff. It goes through Grand Canyon. It goes through Glacier National Park. So there's all these great things. The start of the Oregon Trail is there. So there's many, many, many cool things to see.
That's a good one.
On Route 89. And that's called the Going to the Sun Road when you get up there into the national parks. Glacier National Park, exactly. Beautiful ride. Just gorgeous ride. And so the last time I did it, I was just like, I did take the time. I took the time where I had no schedule. And I just said, I'm going to, like, this is cool. I'm going to make sure I see this. Oh, yeah, Grand Canyon's going to put me 120 miles out of my way. Fuck it, I'm going. Because you're there, right? But you can go into Grand Canyon out of Flagstaff and then come out of Grand Canyon on the Indian Reservation. And all you did was a side trip. You're still moving north, right? So if you do it from the bottom to the top, it's a beautiful ride. It's a gorgeous ride. And because it is that kind of a forgotten thing, there's shit everywhere to see and do.
Yeah, that's a good share because that's a good pro tip, right? Because we were very much on a mission, right? We're riding across the country, and there's some timestamps that we had to kind of get to that. So we didn't stop as much as we wanted or could have. But to plan ahead and say, you know what, I'm going to take that time. That's something that
it was a real pleasant trip, and it's something that I was like, man, you know what? I try to make sure anybody who hasn't done that trip yet do that trip. Yeah. I know everyone focuses on Route 66. I know everyone focuses on these legendary American highways, but that 89, that Route 89 is kind of magical.
Yep.
And it does give you it gives you the bragging rights of going like, hey, I started in Mexico and I finished in Canada, So it could be a really fun trip. And there's nobody that says you have to do it fast because the roads are conducive to going slow.
We met an interesting person. What city was that in that we met her?
That was in Raton.
So we're just gotten there.
No, that wasn't Raton. That was Cuba.
So we just got into Cuba, got our hotel room, came across a couple of cyclists that were riding the Continental Divide.
Yeah, Cuba, New Mexico is on the Continental Divide.
It's on the Continental Divide, yeah.
And so we talked to them at the hotel, and then Pete and I are walking to the restaurant, and I see this other person on a bike, and I thought she was with those other two. So I waved and said hello to her, and then she waved back, and I just started talking to her. It was just this young lady, Mary.
Well, we said, are you looking for the two other bicycles?
Yeah.
Right.
She goes, no, I'm by myself. So,
and I'm like, what? Yeah. And so, and then, of course, and Pete and I are cyclists, big time. And so we just started talking to her and got a little bit of her story. And then Pete, right? I mean, he's got to give back a little bit. And so ended up buying her dinner that night and got to sit there and talk to her.
Pete will pull the copper off a penny, but he will buy her lunch. He'll buy her dinner.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right. He's very judicious about who he steals from. Right.
Well stated.
And to hear her story, right? We were talking about our little story, but to hear her story, what she was doing. So she started in Alaska. She's heading to Mexico, or all the way
by way of the Continental Divide,
and then going all the way down to Baja.
Oh my God!
And it's just this young person. She just graduated with her master's, so she was from Quebec. So French Canadian, just an interesting person. She had a really cool bike. In a former life, I used to do a little bit of bicycle stuff,
bicycle touring,
and was going over a bike and to share a little bit of stories about the gear, the components that she was riding on. I could tell her how they came about. So it was just a really interesting.
It's fun.
Yeah. So that's like one of the stories that I remember most.
Anytime I've ever been doing a motorcycle journey, and I'm out there and I'm like, I'm on the side of the road and my balls are baking and I'm having a water and I'm like, fuck, man, this road's kicking my ass. Then 17 people on bicycles will show up.
Yeah.
And they'll go past me.
It's humbling.
And I'll be like, where do these fuckers come from? And so then I'll get back on my bike and I'll go up the road a piece. And then I'll see them all on the side of the road at a place that you should be pulled off and everything else. And I'll pull in. Hey, where are you guys from? Oh, we're from Maine. Really? Yeah, you rode from Maine to here. We're in Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 17 of you or whatever. And you're like, I was feeling ballsy for having ridden a motorcycle here,
Yeah,
you know, a
it's
100 horsepower motorcycle. And here you guys are on pedal bikes.
Right.
Children's toys, for lack of a better term, and you've ridden across America. Fuck.
Do you know what that leads to, though? Fake hips.
Oh, fake hips.
So part of the route that we followed that GPS Kevin provided us followed an established bicycle route. It was Route 72. We kept seeing these bicycle route signs, 72,
cool.
bicycle route, U.S. bicycle route 72. And we must have followed
miles.
that for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it went on for a long. So it was an
Now
established.
you're letting on about how Kevin chooses his routes so well because he's got the bicycle map.
Well, no, when he set that route out,
Yeah.
he said, I'm going to make it small bike friendly, which means you don't have to get on any interstates, nor do you have to get on any really fast 2-lane
Nor
roads.
do you have to have a motor.
True. But he said the way we do it is to follow established bicycle routes and lesser known 2-lane highways, because there can be like a 2-lane highway that gets a lot of truck traffic.
Yes.
And you go 10 miles north of that, there's a parallel 2-lane highway that goes through more towns, has more turns. So the truckers always take the path
They
of least
avoid it,
resistance.
yeah.
And he also said we look for roads that have strong shoulders.
Right.
So like when we were riding, if we'd get a parade behind us,
Yeah.
we would wait for a clear passing zone. We would all go into the berm, turn our turn signals on, lift your hand, and then the cars would generally get the message. They just pass you by, and the guy in the back would say, "It's clear to the rear." We'd all go back out in the road. But we had a pretty good system down, and the roads were conducive to safe travel, I guess.
And like if some navigation, using Google Maps you can avoid highways.
Oh, yeah.
With that option within Google Maps. You can also do it based on bike. So you can click the bike button and it'll give you another alternative. So
That's bitten me in the ass a couple of times.
Yes. So you always have to be paying attention.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you
on
can
a
go back
bulky,
and
though,
forth.
You can get away with anything.
That's true. You're right. That's right.
As we found going through Buffalo this year, we'll be taking the bicycle path.
The bicycle path that literally is through the middle of a park.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
right.
so Tim and I, like when we came across that bridge, that was you were with the truck. So Tim and I it was just he and I, and the bridge was closed.
Yeah.
And it had the gates across it, and
Yeah.
they're not locked, right? That's not gonna stop
No,
us.
that's not going to stop.
So we
And
were
that
just-
was the only time that morning we were leaving this town, and Tim and Jeff got separated from Brett and I.
Okay.
And we left town on different routes, but we ended up back on the established route.
Okay.
But
Pretty good.
we didn't know if we were ahead of them or they were in front of us. And they didn't know either, but they stopped and waited for us to catch up. Well, I think we were already in front of them.
Yeah, that's
So we rode for at least an hour, and that's when they came across that closed bridge.
yeah.
We came up to the bridge and we did a workaround. We didn't go across it. Well, the truck was with us at the time too, so we could have got across it, but the truck couldn't have.
yeah.
So we ended up going a big long way around, and then an hour later we were at a gas stop, and these guys come rolling into the gas stop. So
Nice.
we all
It used a little bit of a diversion, but you guys did sync back up again.
I was
Exactly.
sharing, like I took John's phone and I turned his sharing on to me, so I knew where they were.
Exactly.
So I'm like, it's not even worth the call.
Not even worth a call.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And we also had Rever turned on, and you can share with your Rever to see where the other riders are that are in your group if you toggle that switch on. So it was no big deal. We were like, everybody's a big boy. We know where we're going. We'll find each other. You know? It's like not going to sweat it. But for the most part, the navigation was great.
Do you have any problem with other motorists unhappy with you guys out enjoying America?
I'm going to say no. There was one time where a car passed and I think they misjudged how we were kind of strung out. So, I mean, if you think of like 5 motorcycles on the road, if you're not nose to tail, you're probably strung out over 100 feet. So it's like passing 3 semi-trucks at once.
I would offer, we met a lot of fellow like small bike enthusiasts at every gas station.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Somebody would be coming up talking to us, right?
No, it's fucking hostage takers, man.
Yeah.
It's hard to make time.
They wanted to talk to us, right?
You're not a fucking monkey, dude. Every 80-year-old guy in America.
Yeah. If you want to meet some old dudes.
Yeah. That's a good dating tip for, women. If they want to meet some old white guys, right? They can just ride a Honda Monkey.
So you identify as a cougar? How about if you identify as a gold digger? You want to meet some 80-year-old white men with disposable income? Get yourself a monkey. Ride across America on a monkey.
Pro tip.
Tip. That's a pro tip. You want to find an old white man? Ride a monkey.
I took a picture of that because it was pretty funny because that's what was going on. It's just classic.
Man.
But as far as hostile drivers,
they're friendly.
minimal. Like the one guy, I think, misjudged a pass and kind of cut back in. It was a red minivan, as I recall. And I was like, you son
What
of a
about
bitch.
the night that we had to put our monkeys in the hotel room? That's a good story.
Okay, let's talk about hotel rooms.
Were you in Memphis?
Oh, no. We were in Vincennes, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
But anyhow, so we stayed in some like Best Westerns and Quality Inns and stuff like that.
Yeah, some real
in-
solid 2 stars.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean, but you got a decent breakfast and the sheets were clean and whatever, And then we stayed in some places that were like old motor hotels, like a little long in the tooth, the furniture shabby, the carpet. You don't
diesel air conditioner.
You don't walk in there in your bare feet kind of rooms. And one place, the bathtub had been painted, like spray painted or something. I don't know. So, but we get to Vincennes, Indiana, and we don't have a place to stay because we're off of GPS Kevin's route. Because he gives like suggested places to stay. If you're going to stop in any town USA, this is a place he recommends. And we would take his recommendations. The places weren't always available. But anyhow, we get to town and we're looking for a place to stay. And we see this place called the Edelweiss House or something. And so we're like, fuck it, let's try Edelweiss because Jeff's got a German background. I've got a German background.
I haven't told you this part yet. So I'd already called them and I knew that they weren't good.
Great, thanks.
He didn't know that. He didn't know that. He did not know that at the time. That's why I was laughing so much.
I wondered. So we drive like 8 miles outside of town.
Right.
And we come to this place. It looks like Boo Radley's house from To Kill a Mockingbird, right? It's like there's like all overgrown.
The sign was
dilapidated.
Yeah.
It was called the Edelweiss?
Hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So we're like, okay, we're not going to the Edelweiss. It must have been a bed and breakfast at one time. It didn't look like it was still functioning. So we're like, fuck it, let's go back into town. We drove by a Quality Inn right on the way out of town.
Right.
So we go back into town. We go there, and this place is pretty shabby. And Jeff goes in and gets a room.
Pretty.
There was only 4 of us at the time, so we need 2 rooms.
Right.
2 guys per room, right? And they go in and get the room and come back out. Meanwhile, the sheriff is there, and he's arresting this person. And they're like, there's 2 sheriff's deputies. They're like 12 foot tall. These big, just like big
monsters,
corn-fed guys, right? And they're dragging this girl out. Like got her arm bent up over her head and got her bent over at the waist, and she's MFing them and everything. And I'm like, this place is bad. This is really bad. And I'm like,
it's dark by now. It's dark.
Yeah.
So we're not finding anything else.
We're like, I'm going in and talking to the manager, the guy at the reception or whatever. And I was like, dude, we're only staying here. We're going to leave. We want a refund unless we can put our bikes in the room.
Yes.
He's like, no problem. So
absolutely.
So that's the first time I've put my bike in hotel rooms many a time.
$49 a night. Bring the bike inside.
But I don't ask. I wait till it gets dark. I wheel it in. I shut the door. I don't leave the room.
Right.
The guy's like, yeah, no problem. I don't care. So we roll the bikes down the hallway and put them in the room. And then that's where we stayed that night. It was great. And
It made for a great picture. I have all my laundry hanging off of the monkey. Just, it was just classic, right? That's where I'm going to hang and dry all my clothes.
yeah,
But it does say that Vincennes, it does specify that Vincennes chief export, because they're right on the border between Indiana and Illinois.
right. We didn't even know. Oh, right. We crossed the bridge from Illinois to Indiana. We went across this river and it said, welcome to Indiana.
Yeah.
And then we lost an hour.
Right. That's the thing, is you lost an hour.
So we thought we were getting into town at like 5 o'clock, and now it's 6 o'clock. And by the time we get fuel and decide which hotel we're going to go to, it was 7:30 or something by the time we got settled.
Yeah, their chief export is hope.
Okay.
Because all hope is leaving that place.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's not a good place by the looks of things.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't bad, but where we were was real bad.
Yeah, well, that hotel is 3.5 stars. Okay. I mean, the reviews.
Okay.
The Google reviews are 3.5.
So
yeah.
As this deputy's leading this girl out, and the one guy gets her in the car, I say to the one deputy there, I was like, is this place as bad as it looks? He goes, it's worse than it looks.
Oh, really?
He's like, this is not a place you want to be. And I said,
We'd already checked in, by the way.
Congratulations, you found a shooting gallery.
It was. And well, Brother Tim's a smoker. I was rooming with my brother that night. Yeah. And after it got dark, he went out to smoke. He came back like visibly shaken.
Really?
He's like, you wouldn't believe. He said it's like a circus train crashed into the Star Wars bar out here.
And Tim actually does look like. Tim has that look like a Vietnam veteran. Like when you see Tim and he's smoking a cigarette,
right?
All he reminds you is like the guy from King of the Hill, or dang, black helicopters, right? That's what he reminds you of, right? Dale. And when you see Tim, you're like, I think he could be a Vietnam vet. I think he's got that lanky, lean.
He's got that lanky look that like you're like, I could either kill this guy or he's gonna murder me.
No, I think he looks real stabby.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's like he's either gonna crumble or he's the opposite.
No, he's the kind of guy that when you look at him, you're like, he's got a knife.
Yeah, well, that's
somewhere.
True. Yeah,
and he looks like he could stab you with it.
Well, he comes back in. He's like, you would not believe the scene out there right now.
So the people lived in the. I don't know.
Some of the people did.
They were, and then one that was getting arrested had been there for 6 months. And
that's now Section 8 housing.
So that's what it was.
Bad.
To give you an idea.
Oh, that's awful. House Edelweiss has one more star than that place does, and House Edelweiss is closed.
Yeah, we found that out.
So how was the mouth he got that night?
Yeah. Not as good.
3 stars. 3 stars.
Not as good as the roofies.
Those were free.
The riding didn't hurt my ass, but when I woke up, I don't know
what happened. Yeah, that's pretty funny. God,
what else?
Man.
So another night we were looking for a hotel. That's when we were in Rattan. We were calling this place. It was called the
Quality Inn with a K.
No,
America's Best Value Inn.
Tom's? That's a hot tip from Tom right there. Take a tip from Tom.
If you absolutely positively have to have a towel.
Oh, my God.
So the place we were going to stay in Rattan initially. No, it wasn't Rattan. Cuba. I'm sorry. The place we were going to stay in Cuba, New Mexico, initially was the one that was GPS Kevin's recommendation.
Oh, okay.
He said, this is where I stay when I go into town.
Yeah.
And he always likes mom and pop joints that you can park right in front of your room.
Right.
And so we're taking his recommendation. We call these people, and this lady's, you can tell she's like 90 years old. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't know if we have any rooms. Are you hunters? I'm like, no, I'm not a hunter. She's like, are you a worker? I'm like, no, I'm not a worker. I don't want to just say I'm like a motorcycle guy. Because
No.
I don't want her to envision like rough, like characters or something. I'm like, no, we're just traveling.
No, ma'am, I'm running dick pills out of Mexico.
She's like, I have to check with maintenance to see if we have rooms available. And I'm like, how big is this place that you can't just look out and see how many cars are in the parking lot, or you
look over your shoulder and count the fucking keys.
Yeah, you're the person that's answering the phone. I would think you have some sort of access to the reservation system.
Right.
So she says, call back in an hour. So I wait an hour. I call back the first gas stop in the morning. She doesn't answer the phone.
This is in Cuba, New Mexico?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all day long, from the time we leave to the time we pull into Cuba,
right?
we've called like 3 or 4 times and she's giving these just really evasive answers. So when we pull into town, we just go up to this hotel and knock on the door. I said, "Hi, I'm Pete. I called you 2 or 3 times today about a room. Do you have any room available?" And she's like, "Just a minute." And she closes the door and she goes and gets what I assume is her husband. And these people they're like 90 years old.
Yeah.
And here's the story was, there was some kind of problem with the plumbing and there was no water.
I'm guessing
in the
you were
hotel.
staying at the Frontier Motel.
Was it the Frontier? That's the one we ended up staying at.
That's where we ended up.
That's where you ended up?
Yeah.
I'm no shit. I
So ours
found that
was-
literally by typing in worst motel in Cuba, New Mexico.
Actually, the Frontier Motel was not bad.
It wasn't that bad?
It wasn't bad, no.
Okay, all right.
It was the only hotel
Interesting.
that we could find anyway.
It was the only one in that price point.
You can actually see the raccoon Pete had to fight for that bagel.
Yeah,
See where that red car is? That's,
Yeah.
that was
Your room.
yeah.
I think it's funny that they had to put what used to be telephone poles up as parking bollards
Yeah.
to keep people from doing donuts in their driveway. Yeah.
but the lady finally came to the door and she's like, "We don't have any water." And so what I think was she wanted the business and she
Yeah.
was hoping that they would get whatever the water problem was solved
Sorted.
before we got there,
Yeah,
so she
that's
could
true.
rent 3 rooms.
Oh, hell yeah. That's
but
a
she
big
didn't
night.
want. She didn't want to just say we're having a water
Yeah, she
problem.
didn't want to shut you down.
So we got there and she said, "Oh, come back in an hour. I think we'll have it fixed." I'm like, "You've been playing this game all day, lady, for the last 12 hours. I've been on the road for 12 hours." So we ended up going to the Frontier. And actually, the Frontier was a pretty decent place.
This is from every Quentin Tarantino movie.
Exactly.
You can rent by the hour, the day, or the week.
I'm not telling you anything, but in this picture that they're using to advertise their motel, there is a Bud Light tall boy on the table and an active rat trap on the floor.
Right? That is the finest establishment in Cuba,
Now,
New Mexico.
And if you look carefully at the
And
chairs,
the rooms are not that nice, by the way.
the vinyl chairs, the vinyl has left them.
Hey, I'm just going to say go to the left there and click on picture number 3.
Picture number 3.
Because I'm a sucker for vintage.
You're a sucker-
I'm
you're
a
a sucker
sucker for vintage neon.
Now, I think this rivals the Night's End I stayed
No,
about
but he is
20
right.
minutes south of Memphis a couple of years ago. The only difference being is, because this is New Mexico, it probably wasn't damp.
It probably wasn't damp. Yeah, this place is probably dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is everything in a Quentin Tarantino film.
There you go.
There it is right there. Yeah, absolutely. That's
perfect.
Yeah.
It's the Frontier Mo.
That place
It's actually it's literally says the Frontier
Is that a
Mo.
Is that a Dyna?
It is a Dyna.
right across the street was a Speedway, so we didn't have to drink the hotel lobby
I'm not
coffee.
kidding,
we went
but-
over to the Speedway.
I mean, literally, this says, lost your daughter? So your kid's on a milk carton.
Okay.
I've got an idea.
So the visual's good here. And this was the same evening that we met Mary.
Yep.
Oh, really?
This young person that was riding her bike
Yeah.
across North
the world.
America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Across the planet.
And I mean, we were actually like, where are you going to, I asked her, I was like, are you staying at the hotel? She's like, no, I'm just going to wait till it gets dark and I'm going to pitch the tent.
I'll find a place to camp.
Yeah. So that's how she rolled. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, it beats being here
Look at
and being
that.
sex trafficked.
Fucking look at that beautiful,
It was probably
beautiful
safer.
facade.
Thank you.
Oh, way
Yeah.
safer.
Look at this.
Way
And
safer.
cleaner.
The only
And
reason
cleaner.
you guys made it out
Cleaner.
is when they looked in the cameras in your room. They're like, "Yeah, we don't need anything from
No,
these."
no.
Yeah.
Nobody's into this. This is nobody's kink.
Well, they said these guys went in the room, farted a couple times, rolled over, and went to sleep. There's a picture of a bunch of dogs in a
There's
hotel room.
literally a photograph of 3 damn dogs in the room.
That explains the smell.
You know what? If I showed up at this place and they didn't distribute dogs, I'd be upset.
This is truly a shitty hotel.
So the lobby, I wish there was a picture of the lobby. I don't know. Did you catch that, Pete? When we were checking in,
I did.
If you turned around, so we're talking to the guy who's giving us his keys. If you were to turn around and look, there was like a sunroom area there, completely just left to do what it was going to do. And there was all
It
this
was rewilding.
vegetation that was growing. And I kept looking at it. I'm going, is that inside? Am I inside or am I outside here? Because the vegetation, it was out of control. Nobody was taking care of it.
Right.
It was just growing wildly. and it used to it was just a window.
If you rent a
where they
room
had
here
stuff.
and they don't give you 27 dogs, you've been cheated.
Oh my God. What a dive.
Yeah, as I look at that picture, what it's in my visual, what's in my head is that big area of where the growth had started.
Well, there's probably a growth on you after you spent the night in this hotel. This is not a nice place.
No, this place wasn't actually terrible.
I mean, it looks
the place in Vincennes, Indiana, was terrible.
This looks magical.
yes,
to
that was
me,
worse.
this looks magical.
Magical.
I mean, it's
get
probably
get
a contact high, but it's magical.
Yeah, no, dude, you get to live out the whole Breaking Bad method.
You do
yeah,
to
for
have
sure.
a Breaking Bad experience.
But like,
Don't knock on room 13B. You're fine.
when I was a kid and I would stay at a hotel with my parents, and I would like, hey mom, can I go to the pool? She'd be like, don't leave the room without one of us.
Right.
Like, this is the kind of place
That's the
right
kind of
here.
place.
Like, this
Yeah,
is a place
that's
where
exactly right.
I'm
kids-
assuming that's a closet.
There is literally a 1983 telephone on the desk that only calls the local pedophile. That's it.
And-
that phone is a direct line to nowhere.
That's like a TV at a prison.
yeah, oh, that is.
That's like an entertainment center from
There might be
1984.
It really
a
is.
chicken wire over that.
Yeah,
Wait,
this is.
is that
not,
the picture of the plants? 3 up? The darker pic? What is that?
I don't know.
No, looks like it used to have a pool.
I don't know, but we're trying to give this place way too much property. But
so it's better to stay at the Clown Motel next to the cemetery than this
It really is.
traveling.
They got Wi-Fi.
Hey, they got Wi-Fi.
Hey,
yeah, Wi-Fi. That's all you need. Kitchenettes, laundry.
What they didn't tell you is this the guy's cell
Exercise
phone with
room?
the hotspot
Right.
turned on.
Yeah, exercise room was where they put you on an exercise bike with a gimp mask and a chain around your neck. Yep. Yeah, that's tough. That is a tough motel, man.
I slept perfectly well there. That place
I
didn't
can
faze
see
me
that.
at all.
it wasn't a picnic table outside.
And they had Wi-Fi.
And they had Wi-Fi.
Hey,
so
Jeff,
what the
did you
fuck?
hear what he just said? A picnic table outside. What about the budget? We stayed at this budget hotel, and another place was. They had this like most pathetic like patio furniture sitting in the middle of the parking lot.
And they were all just the plastic chairs that stacked.
the ABS plastic.
And they were all different.
Yeah.
They were all the same.
Yeah.
And one was metal, and it was just some half-assed table as well, and it was just stuck on this grass, and they were kind of randomly placed. And I think they genuinely put that there as a seating area.
Yes, be
hang
sure to
outside.
visit our patio.
Yeah.
And it was just a classic. So I had to take a picture of it. And if you look at the picture, you can see these like the owners of the place.
Meetings all day. Come over to our Serenity.
They were
patio.
beautiful cars.
It's their conference center.
So it was the budget hotel. So I've got a picture of the budget hotel sign, and I've got that seating area there, and then I've got there were very fancy cars that the owners of the place have.
Yeah, because they probably have 8 motels.
Yes,
Right. Yep.
Oh, what
And
a deal,
they
man.
live there too with the rest
Oh, of course they live there.
with their extended family.
So
Yeah,
I
I'm not-
love the picture because it had everything in it, right? The owners that are filthy rich.
So we were on the road for 2 weeks,
2 whole weeks, yeah.
and we had everything from the bedbug flea bag motel.
Right.
This still had like some character,
Right.
like this one with the neon sign stuff. I mean, it was cool at one time, I'm sure. To like, we stayed at a Holiday Inn Express one night. We stayed at a Best Western. We stayed
cabin?
We stayed in a really nice cabin down in. It was like a area where people in Missouri where they go canoeing or kayaking or tubing or something. Cool. But that season is pretty much over.
Yeah.
Because it was chilly when we were there. But we stayed in this cabin that had 2 bedrooms down, 2 bedrooms up with a full kitchen. And that was a nice place. It was a really nice place, and it wasn't that expensive. So we really did have like varied accommodations.
Yeah.
And we met some fellow riders that were from Tennessee.
Yeah.
And one guy was on a brand new Transalp. The other guy was on a new, was another Honda. There's a Transalp.
Africa Twin.
And the Africa Twin. And then a
DR400.
DR400. And they were just out doing like 180 mile
Yeah. They're doing a fun
double
run.
trap.
Yeah.
And they were
double
from
track
Tennessee.
loop.
I'm like, well, you live in Tennessee. There's great riding.
Yeah,
in
you don't
Tennessee.
need to leave
What are you-
Tennessee.
What are you coming to Missouri for? They well, just change of pace. you know?
Yeah, exactly.
But they had rented a cabin right next to ours, so we were coming back from dinner and they were out, so we started chatting, and then we clued them into ClevelandMoto podcast, and gave him some.
Oh, that was the bump in listenership we saw.
Yeah,
Okay, that explains it. No, there we go.
There's like an extra person.
I knew we picked up like 6 people this week. It's
Actually,
pretty good.
all the way across the country, we were passing out Cleveland Moto podcast stickers, and a few people knew about us, and a few people were very appreciative.
Oh, you're those assholes.
Yeah.
The
I want my $5 back.
the sheriffs that were arresting the sheriff deputies that were arresting the girl. We talked to them. The one guy's like, "Oh yeah, I ride sport bikes," and I'm like, "Oh, check this out." You know?
Oh, that's hilarious.
So yeah.
That's great.
I tried trading the guy in the Transalp, the monkey.
Oh, yeah.
I had him,
You had him close.
Right.
You had him close.
He was
Had
almost
him on the
there.
ropes.
I had to tell him how fast it was, and he said no.
Oh, then he gave up on you. He wanted nothing to do with you after that.
Hey, you want to know a great thing about this ride too? 2 weeks on the road,
Yeah.
maybe 10 raindrops.
I was going to say,
maybe.
you guys had the driest weather.
We had beautiful weather,
pretty lucky.
and the only time that it even sprinkled on us was because they were doing a controlled burn. I don't remember where it was out west, but like Nevada or New Mexico or something. I guess it wasn't Nevada because we weren't in Nevada, but they were doing like a controlled burn. And as we were approaching, you can see this like smoke header, like where they were burning. And after we went through the smoke, there was a light drizzle for maybe 10 minutes, which was funny because it was like 90 degrees. I'm like, oh, I'm freezing this rain because we've been in the 110-degree weather. I'm like, how can I be cold when it's 90 degrees? Usually if it's 90 degrees and you get a sprinkler, you're like, oh, man, that feels good. But I think that they were burning and the smoke was going up and like seeding the clouds and causing the rain.
Yes, that's a real thing.
So that was the only rain we hit in 12 days on the road. It lasted less than 10 minutes, which was super cool.
I got rained on more today.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone on half-day rides and had more rain than I had.
And oh my goodness, did we hit it well, right? Because we did have the heat on the west side, but then here it was getting pretty cold in the mornings.
Yeah.
So in the 40s. And poor Tim, like his clothes was, the air was going right through him. So that guy
And him
needed
being a smoker, his like circulation's kind of
Yeah,
bad.
he
He would
was-
take
he
his
was
clothes
cold.
off and his hands were just like,
I could see him shaking on the bike.
Yeah.
His legs were shaking.
yeah,
Yep.
he was not happy. But it was 40 degrees a couple mornings when we left.
Sure.
When we left Missouri that morning after we rented that cabin, we put on everything we had because we were traveling light at that point. So every layer we had, every long sleeve shirt. I had my rain gloves just over gloves to keep the wind off me. Just a thing around my neck, all zippers closed, and it was still fucking cold, man. We would stop for fuel and we'd warm our hands on the mufflers.
Oh, yeah.
We'd go in the bathroom if they had one of those hot air dryers, trying to like warm our hands up, drink a cup of coffee. But then by 11 o'clock in the morning, it'd be up in like
Start
maybe
shedding layers.
60 or something. You start shedding layers, right? Yeah. It was great roads, great weather, some suffering from a little bit of cold, a little bit of heat, but for the most part, perfect trip. I mean, weather-wise.
It sounds like it is. I mean, you guys managed to nail it. The rest of the country is getting shit on.
Right.
And you guys find the perfect path across America to have temperate weather for an entire cross-country adventure while the rest of the country is truly in a disaster
As
zone.
I'm talking to my stepmom, who's literally in a hurricane.
Yeah, she's
as
being
I'm,
evacuated, right? Yeah.
I don't know how long I'm going to have electricity or the phone's going to be working here.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister left St. Petersburg and went up to Michigan, and everybody's fucked right off, man.
And the day
back to back.
The day we left to drive out with the trailer, so we got a Toyota Tundra with a 6x12 trailer, dual axle trailer behind it.
Right.
And there's all these high wind warnings. We're like, man, this thing's going to get blown all over the place.
Yeah.
Because that was when the first hurricane, Helene, was coming up, and we just skirted around that entirely. Like I said, we missed all the traffic in all those major cities, and we were in like misty rain, I guess, on the way out.
Okay.
But right when we got to St. Louis, it was just getting dark. It was like 7, 8 o'clock at night. And my brother said something about, nothing is worse than driving at night in the rain. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. And the rain dead stopped.
Uh-huh.
And so all night long, it was just clear and dry. and it was beautiful. It was just so really weather-wise, not really due to any planning, more due to shit luck or more to great luck. But we did well all the way out and all the way back. It was super cool.
Very cool.
I'm glad we broke, because I've done a couple of rides with this guy now. And the first one, when we tried to do the Washington BDR, the week before, I was with Nolan out riding a section of it, and I was in a T-shirt because it was so warm as I was doing some section 2 of the Washington BDR. That's how nice it was. It was just gorgeous. He comes down, we go down to leave in Portland, and it starts raining. And this is the Northwest, right?
Yes.
It starts raining, and it will stop on July 5th, right? That's the way it works. And I'm kind of serious when I say that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'm more serious than not.
Yeah, no, Oregon's famous for being damp.
That was miserable.
It's a tropical environment.
And then it snowed.
And then we got snowed out. Right.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so T-shirt the week before, I was in T-shirt because it was so warm.
A week later.
And we had to flip it because there was enough snow on the ground that you couldn't move because there was enough snow.
Damn.
Go figure.
Oh, that's no fun. That's not cool.
Yeah.
We've had a letter from Ryan Hegdahl, one of our Patreons, and Ryan has thrown a gauntlet.
Oh.
I know. And, well, when somebody throws a gauntlet, you want to give them a little bit of props for that. So this photo we're seeing is from the Iowa. I've never heard of this, but maybe you guys can fill me in on what is Urban Cross.
Well, that sounds fun.
Doesn't it? I'm glad I'm not the only one to say
I like
that.
the dress. I like the outfits.
I've got something a little bit. I'm going to preface this a little bit. Now, you've just said the 2 words that don't match in my head.
This is my point.
Iowa?
My point exactly.
Iowa.
Urban Cross.
No, just urban.
I know.
Is there a city in Iowa?
There is. There's many. I've been in several of them. Yeah, there are places in Iowa that you can get urban. That's true. But that's very interesting. I mean, Dyersville's known for their gang activity. They make all those Ertl toys and everything, Could be all kinds of hairy shit going on there. But no joke, this is Ryan Hegdahl. And he says, if any of you gentlemen are interested, I can keep you up to date on when they schedule the Urban Cross for 2025. I have included a video of my second moto from 2023, and if anyone wants to give the race a shot, I might have a KX252 smoker for somebody to participate on. Since this coming year, I plan on racing my 85 Yamaha YZ250. Enjoy the video. And he includes a video that can be best described as a bit of a hair scramble. I don't know if we can play it. I don't know how YouTube feels about Rumble. What do you think?
This is original content.
It is original content.
It's
right.
not like a song from somebody or something.
I don't
like
think
that,
so. No, I think we're probably okay.
He sent it to us, so he's giving us the license.
He
permission.
did send. Yes, that is exactly right.
I will combat YouTube on this.
And give it a go here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, of course there's a commercial, so we can't just watch anything without paying the commercial tax.
Wow.
And I got to say, I'm not a guy that watches Rumble. It's just one of those things that's not in my wheelhouse. But not just one, but 2 commercials on Rumble. Wow, Rumble, you're getting up there to YouTube standards.
I don't think I realized how much square footage is in
Urban
Ohio.
Cross. I just like the title.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was big.
Like Iowa's kind of a big city.
Iowa's kind of Ohio size.
It's an entire state actually.
But like,
corn.
It's kind of like it's big. It's kind of bigger than Nebraska.
Okay,
What makes this urban?
I'm waiting for the urban part. Right. Yeah, I'm standing by. I'm paying attention, and I'm waiting for the urban part.
They listen to rap the entire time.
Yeah. I thought that one guy was.
Maybe it's the suit coats. Maybe the suit coats make it Urban Cross.
Oh.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't revving.
There's a lot of revving.
Lots of spectators.
They all
so
ride
it's very
Harleys
popular
on the weekends.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
It's going to be barrel racing. Is that what the barrels are for? There.
Excuse me.
Oh my God, they have. That was interesting.
This guy, barrels.
Are we got a race here? What are we doing?
I'm not exactly sure, but I'm paying attention because I've heard that
I'm going to send Ryan a free editing program.
Right, Ryan, you're losing me, buddy.
Yeah, you're right.
Come on, man.
Oh, I get it now. All right. Hang in there. It gets better. I promise.
All right.
I hang in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay, now we got kickstart. Oh, you have to kickstart. Oh, he didn't do very well.
Yep.
Oh, it's a Monte Carlo start. You got to start the bike dead stop. All right.
He wanted to give everybody else a
Okay,
chance.
so they're going around tires.
All right, I get that. That looks pretty good. Pretty good battle for turn 1 there. That's looking pretty fierce.
It looks like they got some distance between
They
things.
do have some distance between the obstacles. That's nice. Seems
Okay.
like it's mostly flat Earth.
This is how to string them out.
Cut your head off.
Oh, wait a second. Now you got to go in a tube. All right, you got to go in a tube.
Now
This
they're
reminds
single
me of a
file.
cyclocross course.
Right, it does. Right. No, I'm seeing improved structures coming up here. Yeah, I'm. This might get
So
more interesting.
urban, yeah, they're gonna have all kinds of
Right.
urban. I was
Yeah,
like,
okay, you got concrete barricades you could smash your tits into.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot of that looked
All right.
Roman.
That looks painful.
There's going to be a
That could hurt.
newsstand.
You talk about tough blocks.
Yeah, that is tough blocks right there. Those are not air walls.
Oh, here comes.
Oh, wait a
That's
second.
Here
what I
comes
was
the bus
expecting.
stop.
Oh, this is
In the barn.
This
And
is
here comes the guy bumming change off of you.
Yeah.
There's the unpadded support lolly columns there.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, this is pretty solid. All right. Yeah.
There's great potential for injury here.
Yeah.
I'm picking up what you're laying down. This is an exhausting kind of thing. Yeah, I can see how that could be.
I'm kind of into it.
I'm seeing how you could get hurt on that real quick.
It looks like it's like a fairgrounds or something.
Yeah, you're definitely in a fairgrounds because those are the 4-H buildings right there. You might even catch them on the right weekend. There might see some hogs in there.
Oh, he got passed by a passer.
He got passed for days. But look at that tunnel full of dust. That's gonna play hell on you later in the event.
Oh, I thought it was going to clip the wall.
Oh yeah, look at that. That's fun though. I mean, in and out of buildings and shit. Like that's pretty cool. I got to give it to you.
Now, if they had paintball guns shooting at you,
All right.
that'd be fucking.
That's the
better.
Cleveland Moto version.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Cleveland Moto, you got to stop and do a shot of fucking something awful.
Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had where? Hold up.
Give him
Wait,
right
hang
to
on.
a calf.
Hang on.
I gotta say, they're up in these buildings, man. You know?
Yeah.
Here we go.
What's that? Oh yeah, Malort. Yeah, sure. Take a snort and do Malort.
you go.
Yeah, that's
Now
pretty
they're-
cool. That's fun.
Oh, look, they do have to take a shot.
Oh, are they really having a?
There it is. There
are they
it
doing?
is.
no,
No, they're
this
getting,
is
they're
time
getting their card punched. All right, they're getting their ticket punched.
So
All
okay,
right.
for Mid Ohio, we're gonna do up and down the aisles,
Right.
and then B Smith out of Florida, who brought us the Malort.
Right.
That is cool. All right, this is
It's pretty fun, man.
Yeah,
I
this
gotta
is cool.
say, shooting around through the barns and stuff is pretty cool.
so for any flat trackers out there, this would be a great race.
This is that Ken Block on a budget shit.
It is.
You know?
this is kind of I'm digging this. You
I'm
know
not
what?
seeing a lot of opportunity to pass here.
You gotta catch up.
Well, that's the trick, man.
He
Like,
did get passed.
Yeah.
so-
yeah. Passing obviously does happen.
You know.
He's either-
Oh,
he's
this is.
either-
Oh, look at there's whoops inside the barn.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I don't know if you want to jump too high inside the barn.
No, but on top of that, that was
Look
just
at that.
horse manure. They just they didn't. Really
yeah,
clean it
it's all
out,
horse
so-
manure. Yeah.
A lot of poopy.
I gotta say, this looks exciting.
Yeah, this is fun.
Horse shit.
But we haven't done one lap yet, and I'm already fucking exhausted just watching.
Right?
So
We're
yeah.
old.
I'm lost.
Old. Oh yeah, you're lost too. That's a good
Yeah.
point. When you stop halfway, they're going to give you a new map sheet.
Right?
Like I don't see yellow tape right there. How do you?
No,
think
I
I'm
don't
going
either.
the right way.
They just look for the dirt
I
tracks.
think he did the same thing 3 times.
Right?
Maybe.
Here's some yellow.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, that's but wow, yeah, that is a fierce fierce bit of competition
Then a
right
random
there.
horse pops up and like fucking nails you. Yeah.
Look at they're going in the big arena. So
Well, look at the jumps are in the arena,
Good
man.
God,
Like,
man.
Yeah, that's mental.
I think
That's crazy.
The monkeys would be just perfect for this.
Yeah.
This is truly, if you could limit this event to only monkey bikes,
Or
Small bore bikes, now
Pit
we're
bikes
talking.
in general, yeah.
yeah, oh yeah,
They probably do have a pit bike class.
they
Betcha.
probably do.
Yeah.
now what he
They
didn't
probably
tell
do.
you is this race is 105 laps.
Yes, this is 105. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, look at that.
It
With
is
the-
not
yeah,
fucking
no,
around. I gotta
this
say,
is
Ryan Hegdahl,
wild.
you did impress us with this video, my friend.
Yeah, yeah.
This is it. Well done. That looks like a damn good time. But my arm's pumping already just
know.
watching
Yeah,
the damn
All
thing.
that
Yeah.
two-strokey sound is giving me a little bit of a
Get a little
leak.
boner,
Yeah,
get a little,
leak over there.
chubber over there on the two strokey monks. Yeah, that's pretty good. Well, that's fun. My computer literally just died, so that's it.
Our tax not up for the game.
Yep,
I like it.
that was fun.
I'd do that.
I'd do that. Yeah.
Speaking of dying,
Surprised we're not doing that now.
But
we're like coming across Indiana. We're like 1 day from home. Let's call it 2 days from home.
Yeah.
My
Playing at the
clutch
garage house.
starts slipping on the monkey.
Wait a second. You didn't tell us you had a clutch slipping problem.
Well, 8,000 miles on my little monkey. So
Okay, all right.
A lot of hard miles. A lot of hard miles. Last year, like out in the BDRX out in South Dakota, and just I abused my monkey. I'll just say.
He has beat that monkey.
So we're just south of Indianapolis, and I said, Indianapolis is a motorhead city, obviously.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
There's got to be a large Honda dealer here.
There are.
Start calling around a couple dealers. They said, no Honda monkey clutch plates in any of Indiana. I've checked the system. None of the dealers are showing them, blah, blah, blah.
Because the motor's only been around since 59. So
and
they
I gotta say,
probably...
it's probably the same clutch as a Grom, too. I mean, just a guess. I don't know if it is or not.
I'm not going on a limb here, but I'm pretty sure it's the same.
It
for
seems
all
like,
of them.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a real exotic part here.
Let's see. Does your monkey have a clutch lever?
Yes.
Okay. Then yeah, they're all the same. Okay. So if your monkey has a clutch lever and the Grom has a clutch lever, I'm going to guess they're all the same.
So I'm calling these Indiana places.
Yeah.
They say, I can't get them, or, don't have them, whatever. I'm thinking, come on, there's got to be like a big dealership here that somewhere. Jeff finds a dealer in Troy, Ohio.
Oh,
and I'm like,
okay.
I don't even know where Troy, Ohio is.
Right. I do.
Well, so he says it's right over by Dayton. It's right on the way. It's 100 miles from here.
On our route, yeah.
And it's on our route on the way home to Cleveland. And we get a hold of this guy, the parts guy there by the name of Steve. Honda Power Sports of Troy. Steve Gordon.
Okay.
Steve said, I can have those parts. I don't have them. I can have them overnighted. They'll be here at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. I said, he's 100 miles away.
Right.
I said, I can limp this thing 100 miles with a slip-in clutch.
Yeah.
And we'll find it. I said, I talked to Steve on the phone. I said, Steve, is there a hotel anywhere near your dealership? Right across the street. I was like, beautiful.
Nice.
So we go there. We go to Honda Power Sports of Troy. And it is the antithesis of the mom and pop shop that we saw out in New Mexico.
It's a big joint.
This is a big joint. Standalone, full line Honda dealer, all kinds of accessories, clothing, everything. I mean, it's a big deal. Big, nice shop. And we check in with the guy and he's like, yeah, they'll be here. Thanks for stopping in, and I said, what are the chances that your service department can get us in and just throw this clutch pack in? It's pretty easy. You pull the side cover off and it's not a big job. Right. And the guy's like, oh man, we're behind from last week. Our mechanic quit or was sick or something. And he said, we're already like behind the 8 ball. And I said, well, we might need 1 or 2 tools. We can do the work ourselves. Right. If you can give us a tool to pull the flywheel off and we could probably manage that, So the next morning, that's when Brother Tim and Brett Baldy, we said, why don't you guys run ahead?
Yep.
We're going to wait for the parts to come in. They took off at 8, basically. The dealership called us at 10, said the parts are in. So we go over and we pick up the parts. And then the clutch is still pulling, but it's only taking up at the very, 95% of the clutch lever is released, but it was still like that last 5%, it was grabbing. Yeah. I mean, it would only slip if you were in 4th gear and you're really up against the wind or going up a hill or something.
Sure.
And I'm like, I think I can limp this thing home. But now we have the parts in our pocket in case it does go bad. So long story short, Jeff and I roll in, and as I'm coming up the road to my house, I cross a railroad track, and as I go over the tracks, I go to give it a little bit of gas to get it moving again. It's just slipping on flat land now.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
But I'm 5 miles from home, and so we limped it on in with a slipping clutch, and I'll just replace the stuff in the comfort of my garage now. But that added to the adventure of the trip, and that's when Tim got into his little incident when he was riding with Brett, and they were 2 hours ahead of us.
So when Tim crashed, he wasn't home yet.
No, he was 5 miles from home.
He was literally I thought
He
he'd already
crossed the whole country and didn't kill himself.
Seriously, I thought he'd already been home,
No.
had a good night's sleep, and then was out riding and broke his leg.
He was less than 10 miles from the house.
2,800 miles from San Diego to just outside Grafton, Ohio, where Tim lives.
And he's on my road.
Yeah, I know.
And he crashes and twists his... there's no damage to the bike. You look at
2,870 or 95 miles.
Yep.
No problem. Dirt, gravel, etc. And breaks your fucking leg 5-10 miles away from his house.
Yep.
Son of a bitch.
Yep. So
And
so
from the picture, he did a pretty damn good job, too.
he did. Yeah. It was just a freak
Was Jeff
thing.
with him when he went down?
Brett Baldwin.
Brett
was with him.
Brett
Yes, he was.
Brett was with him when he went down.
Yep. Because Brett lives in Fairview, so they were going to drop Tim off in Grafton, and then Brett was going to drive another 10 miles to his house. Well, yeah, no shit, right? Crazy.
And that's to bring our listeners up to speed. He's got a tib fib fracture, low side bike, low side of the bike, and got a tib fib. What was his right leg? Looked like his
Left
right leg.
leg.
Left leg tib fib, same as mine. And it looks pretty horrendous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not out of the skin, but it's a super bad looking fracture. And God damn it, man! 5 miles from home and just fuck
The danger zone.
the ride. Yeah, the ride's not over till the ride's over, man. The ride's not over till the ride's over. That's all there is to it.
So when people were coming in, we stopped at Brim's.
Okay, yeah. So after we left Troy,
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Brim's motorcycle sales?
Brim's Imports.
Brim's Imports?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was, so Pete had been talking about it.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I was blown away. You know how we were having that conversation about a beautiful bike?
Yes.
That it's art, right? That can go on a wall.
Just hang it up.
And these bikes are the other side of that.
These bikes are all worn.
Right. The patina on these bikes, they should be on a wall too because they had so much patina.
Brim's is a beat bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the age and the beauty of the old
Not every
designs.
bike is a beat bike, because one thing he had there that jumped out at us. Well, he has some that were like survivors.
Oh, yeah.
He has some
Absolutely.
that are restored meticulously.
Yeah.
But he also has some barn finds that are complete originals.
Yep.
But he had a Harley Baja dirt bike from like 72.
Yeah.
Brand new.
Yeah. Brand new machine.
Never-
0 miles.
Never
sold.
Never been
Because
titled.
it's an Aramaki, and was that a...
But it was cool looking.
Yeah.
And what else did he have there that was like super, super duper cool?
Last time I was there, he had a Kawasaki 6-cylinder, the KZ1300, fuel injected bike, and it had well over 100,000 miles on it. Wow. Somebody had used it as a cross country touring sled. Wow. So it was a green bike, but it had all the white windjammers on it. So the white windjammer fairing, the white windjammer side cases, and everything else. So the whole bike was like, it was white, but then there was a little bit of green in the middle of it, right? And the bike had just tons and tons of miles on it. And you could see where over the course of this guy putting, 130 some miles on it or whatever, 137,000 miles or whatever it was, you could see where he'd modified things to make riding better, right? To make riding the machine so much easier for himself. And that's what I loved about it, was because it was a bike that a guy had said, well, I'm going to keep riding this thing cross country until it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And
it lasted for
apparently it lasted
137.
137,000 miles or whatever it was. And he had the bike there. And I just was looking at all these little touches that somebody had done to it to make it more comfortable, to make it better for riding, to change it, to make it the perfect long distance bike.
There was an older Harley Davidson that he just got, and it was at the front door. And I was on my knees just looking at this thing, and they were going to try to start it.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, looking at this thing, it was the rust, that had coated everything.
Everything. Yeah.
That was
Actually, he said that some of the rust on the bike, the patina, was because there was metal in the paint.
Yeah.
So the paint had like
the paint rusted.
rust layer.
Yeah.
But the metal underneath was still pristine.
still perfect.
protected.
Interesting.
And that would devalue the motorcycle if you were to take all that stuff
When
off.
you get to that point, I've made that mistake on bikes before where I've mistakenly restored a bike that I shouldn't have restored.
Yeah.
Because and now it's just like, now everybody's so excited about patina because patina is the lazy man's way out. You're like, look at how perfect the patina is on that.
Well, they say it's only original ones.
It's only original ones. That's the whole
otherwise,
idea.
it's restored.
Right. And that's the idea is, you can have this great get out of jail free card by saying like, okay, the good news is I don't have to paint this as long as it runs mechanically well. Now it's okay that the bike looks a little shot because that's cool. Because the patina is all natural.
My big takeaway after visiting them and riding with Brett cross country, because he rides a trials bike.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get a trials bike. And then they had a bunch of vintage trials bikes in that shop.
Yep.
And I'm like, I want that one or either that one. I'm going to get one of those.
There's a place I'll send you to in Nebraska that a friend of mine does HVC cycles.
Yeah.
And he is the guy, if you ever want to know anything about trials bikes,
okay,
whether it's the vintage trials bikes, which are super fun and cool and two-strokey, or the modern trials bikes, which are still super fun and cool and two-strokey, or the electric trials bikes.
Yeah.
My buddy's kind of the guru of trials bikes, and he's in Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And he's a really, really smart guy that you'd like talking to, because if you ever wanted to dip a toe into it, he's got so much. And he's he builds his own two-stroke expansion chamber exhaust and stuff.
Yeah.
So he's a real
the real deal.
Dude.
Okay.
Yeah, real deal.
The electric trials bikes are fucking cool because they still use a clutch.
Yeah, you still use a clutch.
And it's neat because you hear it go zing.
And then they dump it. Yeah. And then they leap.
Yeah, they
off
go
of
back
the
in
rock.
time is what they do. They just go straight up in the air and the earth turns under them.
Yeah.
It actually doesn't look right when you're watching
No, it
that.
doesn't.
You're like, this was a video sped up
seems
here.
impossible.
It looks artificial.
Yeah, it does.
These guys
it's a very
climbing,
strange
like
thing.
the one dude, like, obviously in France and stuff, those guys eat that shit up.
Yeah.
You see the ones where they have like those big cement, they're like made to stop tanks.
Yeah.
But they're on the side of a cliff.
Yeah.
And the dude is like 30 feet up on this thing, just like bouncing up this thing. You're like, what the fuck?
How the heck?
Like,
He just grabs a piece of concrete with his tire and pulls his whole motorcycle up onto
and then
it.
there's like occasionally there's a dude in a helmet in between one of the things, just there to kind of throw his tire over so he doesn't die.
Well, I'm going to promise you, if Brad, I'll give him out. Brad Obadowski's his name from HVC Cycle. And if he was here right now, he looks like us. He would be at this table and we wouldn't be surprised at all. But then he puts on his boots and then he puts on a display of trials activity. And you're like, oh, I had no idea you were an athlete.
Yep.
It makes it look easy.
He does.
Yeah.
You know what's
I
weird?
watch his videos and his Facebook page all the time, and I'm like, I know this guy. There's no way that this dude should be defying gravity on a motorcycle that's from the 60s. It's very
I want to
cool
be a
talent.
better rider.
Well, that's the deal.
And that's the way you become a better rider.
Well, I had a very short experience with trials bikes, so I can tell you it's not for me because I got a hole in my ass. Oh, scrout. Yeah. My relationship with a Sherco 292 stroke lasted about 1.5 laps. And that's it. I'm done. No more. A 292 stroke from this century is a wicked motherfucker.
Yeah. I can
And when the clutch plates are all stuck and they're not clutching anymore, when the clutch isn't clutching, but the trials bike is still trials biking, well, they're all too happy to go 1 mile an hour at 3,000 RPM.
Mm.
So if you can't make the clutch work, well, it's going to proceed forward, no matter what you put in front of it, even a Coleman camper, and it will go into a Coleman camper in first gear with your hand off the throttle with a lot of authority. And then you'll bleed a lot. And I did. Bled all over the damn place. So for me, it wasn't, I did the same thing. I was like, I want to get a trials bike because I want to refine my skill and I want to get that slow speed control. And I've been working on my wheelies for years and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, I really want to just dial that part in. And I see the trials guys doing it. I'm like so envious. I'm like, I don't need to be that good, but I just want to be able to putt around without putting my feet down. No, I'm done. Fair enough. So, keep that shit.
I have a bit of a problem with the trials community. And that's the fact that you're doing all this stuff where the probability of your head meeting the pavement and or a brick or something.
Oh, okay.
Pretty, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So what do? They got together and they're like, you know what we want? What?
Bicycle helmets.
Bicycle helmets. Helmets that don't cover any part of your face that could meet that rock.
My trials helmet is literally a glorified bicycle helmet because you're never going more than 6 miles an hour.
And then the cotton material and stuff that totally helps you when you fall and hit the rocks.
Boots are the only thing that matters, man. Boots are the only thing that matters. And if you're putting your foot down, That's a dab.
But
You're losing points.
Every time we go to Mid Ohio and they have the X whatever trials guys there,
They're amazing.
Amazing guys, 100%.
Watch
and
them all day
they're sitting
long.
there back flipping over a metal box with like a bicycle helmet on.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay,
Cool. That's good.
Yeah,
That's fine.
you're young. You have enough cells to lose half.
It's fine. Full recovery.
No, 100%.
Full recovery. They just have to be smart enough to ride trials bike.
Yeah,
That's
it does look fun though, man. I have to admit.
It's a super exciting, fun thing to watch. But again, my body is 55 years old, and I have had to make certain concessions. This may be just me gently rolling into the sunset, and I'm okay with that. If it takes me the next 20 years to just settle down and just fucking, I'm not buying a Goldwing. All right, I'm not there yet. Getting closer, but I'm not buying the Goldwing. But
See, I'm going out on turn 3 at Mid Ohio.
right? Yeah, I know.
That's
I
my
know.
job in life.
Sleepy's just Sleepy. Like in the past year, Sleepy's gotten Sleepy used to be really fast, and then Sleepy got really slow.
Yeah,
and now Sleepy's getting really fast again.
Well, no, but it's just like I thought about it, like just what you're saying, 20 years. Well, I just saw that the track day dude. He was his 75th birthday.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, if I do this right, that's 22 more years of riding track bikes.
Exactly.
So I'm like, all right. So that's what I don't know.
I'm hoping that in the next 15 years, sidecar technology gets really good. Right?
Did you see the thing?
I did. Super
the-
excited. The Honda automatically powered sidecar. Yeah, I did.
That seems like it's going to be dope.
There's all kinds of cool stuff that's going to happen in the next 15 years of our life when it comes to the motorcycle industry as a whole.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be really fun.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good time to be around. And, we've had the past 40 years of making an R6 just be as good of an R6 as an R6 could R6. Mm-hmm. That's been what the past 30 or 40 years has been. Sport bikes got really fucking good in the mid 80s, and they ain't got but 3 or 4 seconds faster since 87.
Well, dude, if you go to when I was at the Ducati dealership with Mark today, you look at that new Panigale they got in there, and you are buying a 7-year-old MotoGP bike.
That's exactly what you're buying.
It's insane. The technology that's available to the public now is fucking insane.
You cannot go to your Mazda dealer and buy a 7-year-old Formula One car.
Right.
But you can go to the Ducati dealership and buy a 7-year-old MotoGP bike.
Yeah.
That's
technology that they were using to win fucking races is now available to you.
It is right there. Bring your paycheck, bring your wallet.
All of it.
Good on you, man. Right? Good on you. The bike will do it. But as Jay Leno said, you're the weak link.
Yeah.
Right? The equipment will do it.
Yep.
The equipment's there for you. But you better fucking bring your skill set.
That's what we told Smith too.
Yeah.
We said that 125 cc's of Fury is all available to you.
You're right about the 10 horsepower rule, though. Like,
and the 2 inches of suspension travel, use it.
yeah, use every bit of that.
And he did. When he sat on the seat, he used it.
Used it all up. Yeah. So come on over. We're going to test your bike for sag. Okay, but you have to sit. I'm sitting on it. Okay. All right.
Chris's bike has 4 rear shocks now.
Well, but it's got negative sag.
It's coil bound under his body weight.
Actually, he's not even here to defend himself.
Actually, we put new shocks on the bikes, on the monkeys before we left.
Yeah, you did.
And they were nice.
It's the biggest difference you can make.
Yeah.
I put the new shocks on the Hunter Cub right when I got it. And it went from I was bottoming out the Hunter Cub going into my own driveway. Yeah. And that's an insult. When the bike won't go into a normal civilian urban driveway without bottoming out. Right. And I'm like, if it fucking bottoms out going very pedestrian speeds with me on it at 210 pounds, there's no way I can Hunter Cub this thing. There's no way I can Trail 125 this thing if it bottoms out on a concrete driveway. Yep. So I did. I put really nice shocks on it, and it took me I was 90% of their potential preload before they worked effectively. Before they worked right. And
we had 2 Hunter Cubs on the trip with us, and both of them had stock rear shocks.
Yeah.
Now, the one bike did not have adjustable preload on it.
Correct.
But in 22 or 23, they went to you could put adjustable preload.
Right. And the difference is literally the collar. Tom pointed that out when we looked at mine. Honda decided to save 11 cents by not cutting grooves into the collar that was already there, by the way.
Yep.
So there was like on the 22, the collar has no cuts in it. It's still a collar. There's just no stepped cuts in it. And then for 23, I think it was, they cut steps in it. Come on, guys.
That was a miss.
That was a miss.
That's a miss is what that was.
Yeah.
But both the Hunter Cubs had stock shocks.
Yeah.
And all three of the monkeys had aftermarket shocks.
Right.
And they weren't expensive. They weren't brand name.
Right.
But when we were riding nose to tail,
Yeah.
I was watching the suspensions work on the different bikes.
Yeah.
And the monkeys had greatly superior suspension.
Yeah.
And
My
the
Hunter
road
Cubs
following of the
Yeah, my Hunter Cubs
wheel was
suspension
much
was
better.
tragic. It was absolutely tragic. And when the first time I rode that bike, I was like, yeah, it's step one. I'm not riding this bike to work until I put rear shocks on it. And it changed the whole thing. It changed the bike dramatically. And I'm glad you changed the tires on yours, because that was my second complaint with my bike, was like, what garbage rubber did they put on this bike? If Hunter Cub doesn't have anything express, there's nothing on a Hunter Cub that goes illegally speeds, right? Everything is legally speeds, right? And I'm making a curve in my neighborhood and the bike is washing out on me on dry pavement. I'm like, what kind of garbage ass tires did they put on this fucking thing? And I look and they're like IRCs and they're just China garbage. I'm like, yeah, that's got to go. So I'm glad you got those city grips. That's
Very pleased with them. Pleased with the grip. Pleased with the wear.
Yeah.
Pleased with the ride. I mean, they were a decent tire.
yeah. The IRCs that came on that thing in mid Ohio, I'm riding it in the back in the single track area and stuff, and they wouldn't do shit. So I was like, well, you know what? They suck on the street, but I'll bet you they're probably decent trail bike tires. No, they were the worst trail bike tires I've ever had. They were just trash. They were trash on road, trash off road. But again, Honda has a tendency to put the basic equipment on a motorcycle at the extreme bottom end price point, and the justification is like, oh, it's so we can keep the price of the bike down. But no, I think it's just because they're like, yeah, fucker's going to change it out anyway, so we might as well give him garbage.
Yeah.
You know, they've been on every forum, and every forum says your seat sucks, so give them a shitty seat. Oh, every forum says the suspension sucks, so yeah, don't bother spending any money on the suspension.
They'll complain about it anyway.
They'll complain about it anyway, you know? And you get like other manufacturers putting Showa, which is Honda, on their bikes and being like, yeah, this is Showa suspension. It's a significant upgrade over what we used to use or whatever. And then Honda shows up with like not even Showa when they own the fucking factory, right? They own Showa. How can Honda show up and not have Showa suspension on their bikes? Nope. The Hunter Cub has like, you know, there's no brand name anywhere on it. It's just Chinasty. You know, and you're like, come on.
Well, that's what
Spend an extra $2.
I started like kind of laying out the van to start working on it over the winter, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, obviously I'm gonna have to rebuild these forks. So I start looking at it. It's just a spring.
It's all it is a spring. There's no there's no fluid in there.
No, there's no fork.
It is just a spring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And congratulations. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a dry spring.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is it. There's no dampening.
No.
That's what the big rubber part's for. The tire.
Yeah.
The tire's the dampening.
Yep.
You don't need dampening on a van. No. Come on. Yeah, it is pretty sad. Some of the stuff that comes from the factory, pretty deplorable. Yeah. That's it. Anybody else got anything else? Well, that was fun. I'm glad you guys brought your history or your tour home with you, because that's cool.
This is only half the story, so we'll get
Get another half.
we'll get Chris in here.
Oh, we got to
next
get Chris in
week.
here because honestly,
You'll get the other side of the story with Chris.
no, I think Chris is going to tolerate that shit for about 10 minutes, and then he's going to start snapping back.
Yeah.
Right? He'll go along with it. That's fun. Make fun of me.
Well, do you realize I had been traveling on the gravel road?
No, but you guys don't understand. Every time I try to, you fucking ran off on me. And I know that's going to come up. I know for a fact he's going to have a major case of the ass over
He's
that.
gonna have a different story for the gravel. He's gonna be like, I asked Pete 17 times, are you sure there's no gravel? And Pete assured me there was no gravel. Then we turned the corner and then there was gravel. Like, I know it. That's what's coming.
Well,
I've been on rides with him. Inadvertently, a gravel road came up, and he swore to God that we planned this to destroy his life. Yeah, so.
oh, really?
yeah.
It was your fault there was gravel.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you predicted
Down
that
in
shit.
Millersburg, where like the state county roads can change from like a beautiful road to gravel in 1 week.
Oh, the trick with half of those roads is you're going downhill and you're like, what a beautiful turn. What a beautiful sweeper.
Gravel.
This is great. Asphalt is gorgeous. This is cool. And wait a second.
Gravel.
It's all gravel. But I'm still going downhill.
Yeah.
And it's a turn.
Yeah.
How can you not crash? You're going downhill on asphalt. You're going into a turn. And it's gravel now.
When I had my Husky,
Yeah.
I was riding with Mike and B-Mac and all these guys down in Southern Ohio. We were doing a gravel ride or whatever. Like a dirt fire road kind of gravelly thing, whatever.
Yeah.
Same thing. We're on this like fiery road where it's dirt, grip.
Yeah.
Everything's cool, man. And we're going down and it's like right down almost by Irondale. So like, it's like real actual mountain
It's
kind
mountain,
of shit.
yeah.
And we're going down this road and we're doing like 65 miles an hour. And then it cuts to the right. And I'm actually getting pretty confident. I'm like, this is great, no problem. And then gravel. And then it's a hard 45 to the right in the gravel.
In the gravel.
I'm like, I don't know what to do because I can't hit the front brakes, can't hit the back brakes at this point.
No.
So I hit the back brake. I skid all the way through this dude's front yard. And like, he's the only house in this area. And this end of his house is a cliff, basically. So I slide into his his front yard, sitting there. And I'm like, holy fuck. And I'm like all freaked out. He's raking leaves and looks over and goes, hey.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why isn't he freaked out?
Because
He's
you're
like,
the fourth guy this week.
yeah, exactly. He was just like, you're not the first guy.
He's
to do
just
that.
glad it's not snowing.
Yeah, right. It was fun. Dude, that shit's scary.
Yeah, we were at Hawking Hills and I'm playing cat and mouse with Merritt and having a good time, just doing our thing. And I was like on like
you guys
VTR.
riding?
Yeah, that was in the camp. That was in the cabin later. Okay. But the hot tub. But I was on the VTR 1000 and I'm just like, oh, okay. And, I was letting her have a few corners and then I'd take a few corners, letting her have a few corners. The second guy always is faster, right? You're always faster when you're following.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'd give her a few corners, then I'd take a few. And it was a good time. She was on the SV650S, perfectly good bike. Everything was fine on it. Just had the brand new Pirelli Angels on it. And so she's a little confident. And so I decided, okay, this is beautiful. I mean, it's just the best roads ever down there. And I go over and I crest one and I'm like, yeah, nice. And then I look down and I'm like, no, the fuck? It's like one of those trucker runaway ramps, It's just like, well, I guess this is where we eat shit now for the next 700 feet. And so I did, and I just battled the damn thing rodeo style and got it slowed down to a stop before I actually came to the point where the road turned to the right, and in front of me was like a 12-foot culvert before the cornfield. And I spun my head around and I'm just screaming at the top of my lungs, waving my arms for her to chill shit out, right? And so she comes over the crest of the hill at like 13 miles an hour. And I was like, what the fuck? I expected you to come over there trying to catch me, air under your bike, and like all the cool shit. And then this spectacular crash into the gravel, I'd have to be like, go to the hospital with you. She comes rolling down the hill, gets in the gravel real nice, pulls up to me, and she goes, what's the matter? And I was like, how the fuck were you going 12 miles an hour? And she goes, what happened to you? And I said, oh, no, I need new underwear. Mine are inside me now. And she goes, well, what, I said, why were you going like 13? And she goes, it's a blind hill. I don't know what's on the other side. I was like, oh, that's right. You have a doctorate. Oh, you're going to live a lot longer than I am. And she goes, why? What happened to you? I said, oh, I came over that hill at about 70 miles an hour. Barely had any rubber on the deck. Landed, proceeded to use all my brakes. See the stripes going into the gravel? See the gravel snowplow marks going to both sides of the road? Look at the non-existent bottom of my motorcycle. I'm scared shitless right now. She goes, why would you do that? You have no idea what's on the other side of the hill. You don't live here. And I was like, oh,
you can't argue with that logic.
There's a road down.
fucking can't win.
Yeah.
There's a road, I think it's 164 or something like that, but it's been part of the twisties that we've been hitting every weekend.
Yeah.
And every weekend I forget about this, and every weekend I go, don't fucking forget about this next time. But this road, it goes up like this. It goes blind and then down to the right. But just when it goes here, some dick farmer put a gravel road
So they're spilling gravel out.
Well, not even that. It's like when you come over the hill, it's 75 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, the road goes that. No, it doesn't fucking go that way.
No.
Like, but it's like an instantaneous, like, you always fuck it up. And I almost always hit this gravel road at 70 fucking miles an hour. And it's every single time, it's like the last minute, like, no, fuck. And then you have to push and dip down into this other road. And after 1 second later, it's funny.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You know?
But at the moment, it ain't funny at all.
Every time we get to the same stop sign, Mark looks at me and I look at him and he's like, I forgot. I'm like, I fucking forgot too.
We're down at Cherahola Skyway and stuff, running around on little bikes. We were on CB350s and CB400s and stuff. And we're just having a great time, you know, basically avoiding everybody on the Dragon and just going and doing fun roads.
Yeah.
And so we were down there with Dustin and with Shane, and we're having a great old time. And we'd done this same turn coming back to our, you know, our little hostel that we're at. And we'd made this turn, you know, over the course of the time we're there, maybe 6 times a day. You know, breakfast, back, lunch, back, out for a ride, come back. So the turn it does kind of come out of nowhere. But, you know, it's not that bad, right? It's not that bad. After dinner, though, I think we may have had 1 or 2 wobbly pops or something. You know, it's just a little something. So we were coming back at night. I think we were just going just a little bit faster than we normally were. And so Dustin got the memo. I saw Dustin's CB350 just kink over, and he just made it through like perfect. And I was like, nice. And so I was like, yeah. And I got a CB400 F Super Sports. I was right there. And I just I see Shane pass me. But he's not on the road anymore. He's in the cornfield. And he's going way faster than we are, but he's in the cornfield and we are on the road. He completely blew the turn. He said, I didn't even see the turn coming. He's like, I had no idea. I don't know what I was doing. I was looking at my gas gauge or something, and all of a sudden, you guys just fucking disappeared. He goes, I looked up and I was flying over the culvert. He cleared the culvert, landed in the cornfield, and said, fuck it. I'm not going to try to stop and like
Ride it out.
Cut
Ride it
corn,
out.
right?
Yeah.
So it's all cut corn. It's like these little 6-inch high staffs. He's like, fuck it. I'm just going to ride it out. And he did. He powered through it on a CB350 with street tires, made it the whole way through the cornfield, and met us at the Farmer's Access Road. So we're moving along, and we look over, and Dustin's like, and I was like, just fucking keep going. I think he's got it. And he did. He didn't crash. I don't know how the fuck he didn't crash, but it wasn't dirt. It was mud. And he made it the whole way. And he made it up the culvert on the other side somehow, magically materialized on the road. And he was like, well, that was something. I went, how are you not fucking dead? And we went back the next day. And you know those guy wires that hold telephone poles up?
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
He missed a guy wire by about 6 inches.
Ooh.
Where his tire tracks went and he went off road. Had he been 6 inches to the left, that guy wire would have caught his front wheel and just flipped him forever. If he'd have been 6 feet to the left, it would have taken his head off.
Got lucky.
And we were like, Shane, I hope now because, you know, in the heat of the moment, he played it off like a pro. And then when we went back and looked at it in the bright light of day the next day sober, he was like, oh, man. Whoa, that was scary.
Gotta look out.
It is funny when you're like, oh, you know, you live through something. It's all great. And then you go back and look at it and you're like, oh, shit. No, I'm not going to be so flippant about that next time. That was a big deal. That's cool. When you don't drink, you miss things like that. Anybody got anything else?
Nope.
Fuck it. That's it. That's a podcast.
That's it.
Play us out of here, Sleepy.
No, John.
All right, hit the red button. Eject.